You in with Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach. I'm Adam Alexander. We've had to wait out the rain for just over an hour, but now it is time to go racing. We know the emotions that go into getting ready for this race for a driver, so how does this delay affect these guys?
I think they were mentioned earlier. You're just ready to go, and you kind of programmed. You know when the race starts, you want to get going, and it just kind of slows everything down. But, you know, once the drivers get back into the cars and they put their helmets on and they fire those cars up, they're ready to go. There's nothing that was in between. They don't worry about the rain delay. These guys are ready to go racing.
Yeah, and if you follow, you know, Montoya, Harvick, a lot of those guys are on Twitter. So if you follow them on Twitter, the thing is, a lot of them didn't get up till 10 or 11 this morning. So it's not like they've been up all day long. You know what I mean? They're rested, they're ready, and just like Wally says, this is a night race. They knew they had a night race going into this thing. And the thing is, they've been sitting in the truck, they've been talking. They're anxious to get going, but it's not a big deal for them right now.
The track is green. Does that change your approach at all?
Yeah, I don't think so, because it's so worn out. You know what I mean? Whether the little bit of rubber that they put down on it from last night really hadn't changed the racetrack that much. I don't think we've heard any drivers or any crew chiefs talk about that. Tire wear is not an issue. A lot of these things that you see on other tracks are not an issue. And by being a little cooler tonight, like Larry and some of those guys have said, it's going to be a lot more grip. So it's going to help some of these guys. Green and no rubber is going to help some of these guys.
I think the only difference with that, it's in their head, it's green.
Yeah.
So maybe for the first 15 laps, there'd be a lot more calmer out there on the start normally than it would be otherwise, because they're not quite sure what the track is going to do, and they don't know. It takes a couple laps to get these things wound up.
And as advertised tonight, there are a number of folks that are a part of our broadcast as we get set for the Coke Zero 400. And tonight, the Coke Zero Fan 400 happening right now online. Go to CokeZero.com and vote for your favorite driver. And now we take a look at the Coke Zero starting grid. Jimmie Johnson on the front row with Kevin Harvick. Both drivers have won the Daytona 500. And in case you missed it, qualifying rained out here yesterday. That meant we went to the NASCAR rule book, putting many of the drivers who are high in the standings at the front of the field to start here this evening. Matt Kenseth, we heard from moments ago, won the Daytona 500 last year. Jeff Burton won this race 10 years ago. Tony Stewart always good in the summer here, and Greg Biffle got his first career win in this race at Daytona. Mark Martin never a win at the World Center of Racing, and Carl Edwards trying to help Ford to victory lane for the first time in 2010. No one will ever forget Ryan Newman and his successful drive to a victory back in 2008, and we all know Dale Jr. and how good he is when it comes to restrictor plate racing. Martin Truex Jr. in row 9 with the guy who won the Daytona 500 earlier this year, Jamie McMurray, Kyle.
Yeah, and we heard Jamie talk in pre-race, and we heard Martin Truex talk about same car. They didn't really change a lot. He thinks he's got some. He thought he had something at the 500, and they did. You see these guys right here, the 83 car, Reed Sorensen filling in for Brian Vickers. Paul Menard. Paul Menard had a great Daytona 500. Those guys started off really, really strong. David Reagan, who has been a restrictor plate racer ever since he's come into this stuff. You look at his Daytona stuff and his Talladega. Brad Keselowski, the Penske cars ran really, really good in the first 500 down here. At one point in time, they were in the top 10. Scott Speed led a lot of that race. There's Sam Hornish in the other Penske car. Elliott Sadler was so upset with his car the first practice, they came in and changed a multitude of things, but in the second practice, he got a lot more comfortable with it. Reagan Smith, I was busted on you the other day.
Oh, yeah.
You said he didn't have a top 10. I said I thought he had won a race when it went with the move at Talladega. And those guys, and as we move back into these guys, these are guys that will start. Some of these are the starting park. Some of these guys are going to run the whole race. I think as you go through this, you see David Stremme in the 26, Bliss right there. Bobby Labonte, 600 start. How cool is that? To be able to be the Grand Marshal, to set in the car, and to give the command to start your engines. That's pretty impressive. And Max Pappas, and here we see Steve Parks. Steve Parks driving a car. It's a tribute car to the great Richie Evans. If you get a chance to go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, they've got Richie Evans modified there, which is pretty special. J.J. Yaley and Joe Nemechek. You know, J.J. was he in an accident last week? I think he got in an accident early on. Dave Blaney brings up the tail of the field. But these guys are just, they're all ready to race right now.
Kurt Busch, Mr. Close but no cigar at Daytona. He's finished second here 3 times. Let's visit with him as he makes his way around Daytona, the pace laps. Wally?
Let's give him a shot. Hey, Kurt Busch, this is Wally in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you, Wally. Go ahead.
Well, we were talking a little bit on Friday, and I thought you had a really good car in practice. The car looks good. I don't know if these guys starting around you are all on your Christmas list, but with the conditions now and the rain, you approach the first few laps any different, not knowing what the track is going to be like?
Yeah, the track's definitely going to be green, and we've got her tightened up just a little bit from where we were the other day in practice. Our car was running a little on the loose side. So we've made 2 adjustments to tighten her up, and we should be money here to start. We just have to keep track of the racetrack as it starts to rubber in and as the race goes on. So looking for a good run with our Miller Lite Dodge.
Well, like Larry Mack mentioned, you have got an incredible record here without a victory. Maybe tonight can be the first one. Good luck.
Thanks, Wally. Yeah, maybe I'm just too nice sometimes, but we'll see what we can get done tonight. You got to be smart.
TNT would like to thank the following sponsors for supporting tonight's wide open coverage. Goodyear, Piranha 3D from Dimension Films, Coors Light, Subway Restaurants, Sprint, Toyota, Burger King, and of course Coke Zero. And now we send it back down to the pit lane one last time. We lead it off with Ralph Sheheen.
You know, Adam, one of the big family fun things to do on 4th of July weekend is to get out the old slip and slide. Well, Jeff Gordon will tell you this 2.5-mile tri-oval here at Daytona International Speedway, quite possibly the world's largest slip and slide. But he likes that. He's a 6-time winner here, and he's won 12 restrictor plate races. He's hoping to get one more tonight on the old asphalt here at Daytona, Matt.
Ralph, when you talk about drivers who've got great history here, even though he's a young driver, Clint Bowyer, who starts back in the 8th row, 9 Daytona starts, 6 times he has finished in the top 10. Now, his crew chief, Shane Wilson, told me, when you look at strategy tonight from on top of the pit box, every time they hit pit road, their game plan, 4 tires. There's a lot of give up in the tires. The wear's not bad, but you're seeing give up on the stopwatch after around 12 to 15 laps. Phil?
Matt, Tony Stewart has won this race 3 out of the last 5 years. The good news is he has the same car here tonight that he won with last year. The bad news is that's not the car he practiced. He was involved in an accident. He had to go to the backup. Darian Grubb, crew chief, said, I don't know how to get all my heights set right now. So we're going to have to try it at the beginning of the race and may have to adjust on it on the pit stops, Marty.
Well, Phil, our championship leader is also our most recent restrictor plate winner. That, of course, is Kevin Harvick. And I talked to Gil Martin, his crew chief, earlier this afternoon, and he told me we've got to loosen things up around here on the 2019 because we need to start gambling, going for wins, because if we started the chase today, we would be pretty far down the standings with only 1 win so far in 2010. So look for this 2019 to maybe take some gambles tonight, Adam, try and get to victory lane.
And it may not take a gamble, Marty, when you look at recent history and really throughout Kevin Harvick's career. He's a driver, when you come to a place like Daytona or Talladega, that is always one to watch. And a big advantage for him tonight, he starts from the pole position. Larry McReynolds knows what it's all about to go to victory lane here at Daytona. 2 times he was on the pit box and got to celebrate in victory lane. Let's send it back to our crew chief one more time.
Well, Adam, I think it's very rare that you can say, no matter what racetrack we're at to, that basically what happens in the Nationwide Series race, that it will carry over to the Sprint Cup Series race. But I think we maybe have an exception here this weekend. When you look at the fact that this race team, they've got momentum coming in here. They have 3 consecutive top 11 finishes. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has 8 wins here total, 2 in the Sprint Cup Series, and then you throw in the fact that they finished 2nd in the Daytona 500, and Marty Schneider, you're with his crew chief, and it doesn't hurt that he did win this race last night.
Yeah, I think that actually did a lot for him, and let's ask his crew chief, Lance McGrew. Lance, I know it wasn't a cup win last night for Dale Jr., but what did that do for his psyche and the psyche of this race team?
Well, I don't think Dale will ever admit it, but I mean, a win is a win, and confidence is everything in this sport, and the drivers that have the confidence are the ones that are successful. We went through a bad stretch where he wasn't confident in us as a team, and I feel like we really stepped our game up over the last month. We've been really, really good, and it's been showing on the racetrack. So he's definitely up. He's excited. He's ready to get this deal done, and I think last night just contributed to how far we've come.
They've been terrific in the last few weeks, Adam, and I tell you what, Thursday in practice, the 88 was awfully good, so watch out for Dale Jr. tonight.
Momentum so good in the draft here at Daytona, but it's not bad to have Uncle Mo on your side when you talk about restrictor plate racing on the season as well. Now our race analysis for tonight's Coke Zero 400. 160 laps makes up the 400 miles. You see the pit window, 38 to 42 laps. Pit road speed tonight, 55 miles per hour. And that's slow when you consider how fast the drivers are running around this place.
Yeah, it's not going backwards. If you got to come in and pay for a penalty or a drive-through or anything like that, 55 is just crawling. Especially when these guys run 185, 190 miles per hour on the straightaway.
Because it is a green racetrack, NASCAR has announced to the teams there will be a competition caution at lap 15. So regardless of what happens early in the race, we will get a competition caution so drivers can come down pit road and make sure everything is where it needs to be. You cannot fuel your car prior to that.
Yeah, and you know, they're running extra caution laps here. And one reason they're running extra caution laps, I know you people at home are watching this on TV, you keep hearing those jet dryers. That's the massive noise you hear in the background, and especially when they're on pit road. Even though they drive the racetrack, the cars were sitting on pit road. Now that the cars are on the racetrack, the jet dryers have gone up and down pit road. They've tried to circle and dry that area in, because if they are going to have a competition caution, they've got to make sure that pit road is safe for the guys that go over the wall. You don't want these guys coming down at 55 miles an hour and hitting this wet asphalt and sliding into somebody on pit road. So they're not going to drop the flag on this race until they get pit road where it's safe. The racetrack is looking good, but pit road has to be safe also.
2 practice sessions here on Thursday. They were eventful. In the first, David Reagan, Kasey Kahne, and Kyle Busch all wrecked and went to backup cars. They will start in their scheduled positions here tonight. Other drivers involved, Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, Robert Richardson Jr., and Reed Sorensen, all will have to go to the tail of the field at the start of tonight's race. And to explain that a little bit more, let's go back down to Larry McReynolds.
Well, it gets a little bit complicated, Adam, because NASCAR's rule is that if you crash a car before qualifying and you have to go to a backup, as long as you present that car with the race engine, you're good to start the race where you qualify. Well, when you look at the fact that David Reagan, Kyle Busch, and Kasey Kahne, they got back out on the racetrack in practice, and even though qualifying was scratched, these guys are able to start the race where they actually would be as per the owner points. But now if qualifying had went off where Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, and Reed Sorensen could have made 1 or 2 laps in that race car, they could have started where the points would have left them. But it's mainly a safety thing that NASCAR does, is that since they did not make a lap with those race cars, they have to start this race at the rear of the field.
But this is a gift for guys like Tony Stewart, because these are guys that don't have any time on the car. They have no idea what it's going to do. This gives them a great opportunity, knowing a caution is going to come out, to hit pit lane and make an adjustment, probably a couple of adjustments.
Yeah, and Tony Stewart in our Countdown to Green show on TNT, he said the same thing. He said, expect my first pit stop to be a little bit longer, because we don't know where we're at. We might have to add a little bit to keep the valence off the racetrack. We might have to make some adjustments. So by having the competition yellow, it's a godsend for those guys.
And it will provide for some entertainment, because when you don't have track position here, it means you need to work your way through the field, and certainly some of the best at doing so, Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin, among those drivers that will start this race at the tail of the field. The last time they came by the start-finish line, the 1 to go signal was given. So now as drivers make their way down the back straightaway, we are a half a lap from going green. It's not the first time we've been delayed in the Coke Zero 400. Some 5 years ago, we started the race at 10:45 p.m. Tony Stewart went on to win in 2005. Butterflies building all day, Wally, and I guess at this stage they've reached their peak.
Yeah, but like I said, once those engines fire up, the butterflies go away. I mean, these guys they're ready to get down and do business. And you watch if you notice the temperature, I think it's at 77 degrees, which doesn't sound too bad, but the thing to look at is the humidity. The humidity was like at 90%, and that's what makes the racetrack slick.
An hour and a half rain delay tonight, but we are set to go racing at Daytona. 43 cars lined up. It's a wonderful thing. Anytime you can put the green flag in the air at the World Center of Racing. Tonight marks the end of half number 1 on the Sprint Cup Series schedule. We're glad you're with us on this holiday weekend here on TNT. Wide open coverage of the Coke Zero 400. Brett Bodine set to pull the pace car to pit lane. Tony Stewart, the driver to watch from the back. And as we will follow his progress, our eyes in the front, Kevin Harvick, Jimmie Johnson on row number 1. Fans feeling the anticipation, and now the green flag in the air, and we are underway racing at Daytona.
Saw a little bit of this yesterday, Kyle, at least in the nationwide race, that bottom line was awfully strong during the race.
The bottom line in the nationwide race was strong all night long. You expect the bottom line to be kind of strong with new tires and on a green racetrack and at cooler temperatures, so you think it's going to be some grip. But, you know, these guys, I don't think anybody's gained or lost a foot or a foot and a half since they dropped the green flag.
Jimmie Johnson in the outside lane leads lap 1. Not much movement. Still several rows of 2.
I was just going to say, you know, I haven't seen anybody hit anybody yet, but that's Kyle Busch, who probably takes the lead for that.
That's Kyle Busch up on the wheel saying, go, 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 go. You saw those little, the vents that come up right in front of the windshields right there. You know, that's just the air that's tripping over the spoiler. It creates lift right there, and it's lifting those up. You'll see that a lot during the night on these cars.
Great shot there as they come through the tri-oval for the second time. Lap 2 belongs to the pole sitter and point leader Kevin Harvick.
I'm surprised, actually, you know, Kyle Busch has been leaning. I'm surprised he hasn't pulled out and tried to take the lead. He leans on him real hard going down the straightaway, and of course you got to back off before you get to the corner, because if you're on the guy's bumper, when you're pushing him into the corner, you'll spin him out. But he has been wearing out the back of that 29.
Harvick led the most laps here in February. 41 circuits he had the field in tow during the 500, and of course he won the last restrictor plate race, a dramatic come from behind win, passing McMurray at the line at Talladega back in April.
You know, just watching these first few laps, all these cars look fairly stable. I think watching some of the racing last night, those guys, it was a lot hotter. The temperatures were up, obviously, and the racetrack was a little bit different. But those guys struggled after about 4 or 5 laps. I mean, they were going in and going straight up the racetrack. You see these guys have already, Jimmie Johnson jumped down in the inside lane. You just saw Kurt Busch. So these guys have conceded the fact that the outside lane, you know, 4 or 5 laps into a run is not going anywhere. We need to get in line and try to the bottom of the racetrack.
First car in that outside lane being scored in the 7th position. That's Jeff Burton in the 31 Caterpillar car. Greg Biffle right behind him, and there goes the Biff to the inside with his teammate Matt Kenseth. Told you Denny Hamlin starting at the back. He's up 15 positions from 38th, and Tony Stewart on the move as well. Let's send it downstairs to Phil Parsons.
Yeah, Tony Stewart reported to Darian Grubb that it felt like the front end was a little bit high. And that's because, remember, Darian said, I'm not sure exactly where to put our heights and where to get our splitter, how high off the ground. So may be able to adjust on that a little bit on that competition caution on lap 15.
But, you know, when they went through the inspection process, they had no idea there was going to be a competition yellow. So Darian and those guys obviously opted to go a little bit higher. You didn't want to start this race and start slamming the racetrack right off the bat. The safest place for those guys to be were a little bit high, so they didn't wear the splitter off. Now they're going to be able to maybe adjust that thing. And if they make an adjustment that's a positive adjustment that really helps this thing, if he's picked up that many positions with the thing being a little bit high, when he gets it right, he'll come back a little bit far, or come forward some more.
Jimmie Johnson started on the outside of the front row, led lap 1. Kevin Harvick, who started on the pole, took over at lap number 2, and he's led every lap since. After inventing a drink with real Coke taste and 0 calories, Coke Zero now gives NASCAR fans an exclusive peek at Joey Logano's pit stop.
Oh, hey, it's Joey Logano. Listen, while I'm busy trying to win the Coke Zero 400, you can help me with another race happening right now online. Go to CokeZero.com and vote for me in the Coke Zero Fan 400. If you do and I win, all my fans get to join me in a victory chug with a free Coke Zero.
We showed you some of the drivers that started at the tail of the field and how they are moving up in the early goings. The Hendrick cars have something brewing. That's Jeff Gordon, who has moved up to third in the running order, and Jimmie Johnson starting to help him in the outside lane.
Yeah, so far the outside line hasn't shown much, but you know, sometimes a lot of it, as you see Gordon trying to get to the bottom, he's had enough of it out there too. You know, he tried staying out there with his teammate to see if his teammate could help him, but it's just that outside line has not been able to pull up even with Harvick.
You can have all the best intentions in the world when you come to Daytona as far as having a drafting partner. Bottom line is, when you get out there, you don't know who it's going to end up being. How about this? The two guys that knocked each other around for first and third last week at New Hampshire now working together in the outside lane. But Busch and Johnson.
You completely forget about last week. You know, when you come to a restrictor plate race, all you're looking for is the fastest guy that you can hang on to and work with. And you seem to forget about a lot of the things that happened possibly in the past, because you never know which car is going to work best with you. You see Jeff Gordon duck underneath Kyle Busch here, kind of take over the second spot. Tell you what, the 24 car in the early stages so far has looked pretty strong. Whoa,
Kyle
wow,
Busch
sideways on the 18 car.
Two cars behind Gordon on the inside lane is Jimmie Johnson, Matt.
And he was waiting for some help in that outside lane. Now he's jumped down to the bottom. Jimmie telling Chad Knaus, the car is a lot tighter than I expected it to be early on.
Jimmie Johnson in the 6th position, led a lap, currently, as we said, dropping back 4 positions. Enhance your live race experience like never before with Race Buddy 3D, presented by Coca-Cola on NASCAR.com. For the first time ever, you can experience the power and speed of NASCAR in 3D live on your computer. Check out Race Buddy 3D, presented by Coca-Cola, only on NASCAR.com.
I'm going to tell you, if you're watching this, some of these guys, the handle has gone away on their car after about 7 or 8 laps. Carl, coming up out of turn 2, the lap before this, pushed up, got caught in the middle, lost about 7 or 8 positions. And we're seeing these guys go in low and slide up the racetrack right now. So it took about 7 or 8 laps to get the good out of the tires. And now that we've got some of the good out of the tires, you see maybe the 29 car's not as fast as what it was, or not handling as good as what it was, because these guys and the outside line is coming back a little bit. Wow, somebody's up against the wall in the back there.
Jeff Gordon pulling that outside lane around. He became the 3rd different leader last time by, outdueling Harvick for that. Kevin Harvick's been solid tonight, Marty.
He's been leading most of these laps, Adam, and trying to keep the car up front. It's funny, Kyle, exactly what you were just talking about is what Harvick and I were talking about when he climbed in the car. He said, you know what, for about 10 laps, these things are great, but after that, that's when handling will become a factor. He said, for me, I think we need to be in a single line. I want to be up front in that line if I can, but you'll see who has a good handling race car about 10 to 12 laps into a run.
You see these guys in the top groove have gone all the way to the top groove. They've just given up the middle of the racetrack. But look how much the separation is on these cars from where they went into turn 1 to where they come out of turn turn 2. They're giving each other a lot of room now. They know there's going to be a couple more laps, and they're going to catch a competition yellow, and they're going to be able to come in and change. You see the 2 car. He goes in the middle of the racetrack, goes straight to the top.
24 got loose right there.
Yeah.
He hit that bump, and sometimes you catch these bumps just the wrong way, depending on where you're on the racetrack and you have other cars around you. That car jumps sideways on him. Jeff's going to lose some spots here.
And look at Jeff. Jeff's in the middle, and that's the bad place to be right now, especially if your car's a little loose or a little pushy one way or another, because you're not going to be able to get that thing to turn because they're taking air off of you from both sides.
Yeah, you basically, when you're in the middle like this, you've just got to roll out of the throttle, and you've got to either wait for a gap or get behind one of these lines, because you cannot run full throttle in the middle through the corners at Daytona, or it'll just turn sideways.
A few laps ago, Jeff Gordon, the race leader. Now just trying to find a spot in line outside the top 10. He finally gets it in front of Kane.
Thing down, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
he wanted it bad.
He wanted to get back in line there at some point in time on the inside, and he made that turn.
Bottom of the racetrack, Kyle Busch. Outside, Greg Biffle. This is the battle for second. Busch the man in the runner-up spot as they cross the start-finish line. 13 complete at Daytona. Kevin Harvick continues to lead. You're watching the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola on TNT. Aerial coverage is provided by the Goodyear blimp. Tonight, Goodyear is doing something that has never been done before in a NASCAR race. To tell us more, here's Richard Childress and his team.
NASCAR trusts Goodyear. Their tires are on every car in every race. And because of this, Goodyear is able to do something that has never been done in the history of NASCAR.
Tonight, every car will proudly race on these special edition tires with the Support Our Troops logo boldly displayed on the sidewalk. This is to kick off Goodyear's Support Our Troops initiative.
Support Our Troops is a non-profit organization that benefits military personnel and their families. Last year, they shipped $8 million worth of goods to troops all over the world.
Let's see how much money we can raise for this patriotic cause. Go to Goodyear.com to join in.
There you'll find an easy way to donate and an auction where you can bid on one of these Support Our Troops tires used in tonight's race, signed by your favorite NASCAR drivers.
An awesome tire for an awesome cause. Go to Goodyear.com between now and November to be a part of history.
Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
I think when this caution comes out, there's going to be more than just air pressure adjustments on a lot of these guys. I've seen Boyer, Newman, even Harvick now slide back, but some of those guys in the middle there, Kyle, that were hanging in there, they had just got to the back. They're like, man, I need to get to the pits and get working on this thing.
Now has 5 different race leaders. Greg Biffle led a lap a moment ago, and Kyle Busch has now gone to the front. Lap 16 of 160 is what we're working right now, and we anticipate soon there will be a competition caution. If you're just joining us, rain moved through the area this evening, pushing this race back, and with that, a competition caution. And as you can see, it's out right now. A welcome sight for some drivers because, as Wally pointed out, it's time to go to work on their cars. As we get our first caution of the night, Kyle Busch will be scored the race leader.
And just by watching, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of cars that are tight. Most of these guys look like they're loose. Maybe some of those guys in the high line may have been a little bit tight because they're going up the track, but there's a lot of cars that are loose out here.
Yeah, and they're, I'm really surprised they're not bouncing around as bad as what I thought they were. I really, after watching the nationwide race last night, I thought these cars would be a lot more rigid, but these guys seem to have their stuff worked out. But when you see these things, it's just like you're talking about. They're not just plowing like you used to see down here. These cars, they've set themselves up to wait for the racetrack to come to them a little bit looser.
What about the leader, Phil?
He's talking on the radio to crew chief Dave Rogers that he's a little bit too free. Dave said we're going to put a little bit of air in the left rear and take a little bit of air out of the left front. He said we're going to close up that rear stagger for the rest of the race. These tires, these radial tires, have very little difference size-wise, but there's just enough that they can get maybe 1/10 of an inch.
2 drivers out of the race in the early going, Max Pappas and Dave Blaney behind the wall. The other 41 drivers still on the lead lap. And under this competition caution, they will very likely all come down pit road and work on their vehicles.
Yeah, I would say very, very likely. They want 4 tires and changes.
Kyle Busch, the race leader here. Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, the top 5 as we get to pit lane for the first time tonight. Let's go down to Ralph Sheheen.
Well, they're going to try something a little crazy here with the 16 of Greg Biffle. He's a little tight. They're going to go down a half a round on the track bar, but they're only going to take 2 tires in this stop. They don't want to get too aggressive with the car, so it's a 2-tire stop, Phil, for the 16.
Ralph, the 18 of Kyle Busch will come in for 4 tires. We talk about the air pressure adjustments. Remember, brand new race car. Never saw this racetrack till Thursday afternoon in the second practice, Marty.
The call for Kevin Harvick just came from Gil Martin of watching everybody else for 2 tires. It'll be an air pressure adjustment and also a wedge adjustment for Harvick. Matt?
Rich Gutierrez, the gas man, already made a significant chassis adjustment on the left side. The car entry to center was awesome, but Jimmy says he needed big help on exit for the long run.
I'm really surprised with the 2 tire stops.
Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle, the first 2 off pit road, both going with 2 tires as you see on your screen. We're 17 laps in here at Daytona. Glad you're celebrating this holiday weekend with us. TNT happy to be bringing you live coverage of the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola. With Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach, I'm Adam Alexander. And you have until lap 40 tonight to get your picks in at NASCAR.com for the TNT $1 Million Fan Challenge. Pick the top 10 drivers in tonight's race and their correct finishing order, and you could win up to $1 million. And if ever you were going to earn the money, you certainly would do it here tonight.
That's a tough call here tonight. I'm still really shocked about the 2 tire change.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying 2 tires this early in the race just to get a feel for what they think. But I think the racetrack should probably change by the time you would want to go too. Later in the race. But I'm not a crew chief, so let's be real clear about that. But if I'm a driver and I was watching some of those cars out there, I'm thinking, give me 4. Let's get my adjustments. Let's get the car under me.
Comfortable.
So I am comfortable with it. Yeah. And then I'll gamble when I'm comfortable. I hate to gamble on something when I'm just not comfortable with how I feel out there. And, we saw cars that led the race at lap 7 that were running 18th at lap 15 or 16. That's how far they had fallen. Not because, and it was all about the handling at this point in time, not because they got shuffled out.
And there are a number of big-name drivers still outside the top 25. We will continue to update their progress as we continue on this run. We've wrapped up our competition caution. We go back green as we put lap 19 on the board. Among those drivers in the back, Tony Stewart, who came down pit road twice under the caution. Kevin Harvick, Greg Biffle on the front row, both of which, as we pointed out, took 2 tires when they came down pit road.
Kurt Busch got a great start, and he's just literally pushing the 16 down the straightaway.
And we saw starts like that at the end, green-white checkered at the end of the 500. The guys that got the great starts were the guy that's your teammate or the dancer behind you got a great start.
It was almost too good because Kurt Busch really laid into him going into the corner, and Biffle slid way up the racetrack, which let Harvick get back in the lead. And it looks like, to me, it looks like Biffle is still struggling. I think Biffle's going to be put in the middle here pretty quick.
That 3-car breakaway at the front, Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski. Kyle, you pointed out how good the Penske organization looked down here in February during Speed Weeks. Kurt Busch has been solid throughout the weekend, and Brad Keselowski serving notice that he came to play tonight.
See Sadler sitting there in that 19 car. That's a good run for him. He's worked his way up into 3rd spot right there.
And that's an incredibly impressive run, because I'm telling you guys, we did the first practice on speed, and we worked the booth. Remember, he ran 2 laps. We were an hour and something into the practice, and he had run 2 laps because he hated the cars so much. Obviously, those guys worked really hard, went back to their nose, and have put something together where at least he can run and hang on to that thing.
Here, Elliott Sadler looking to the outside of Kyle Busch. Fans, Subway now has breakfast. Build your better breakfast at Subway. Subway, race hard, eat fresh.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's got a really good shot to win the race.
I sure could go for something to eat right now.
Yeah.
Wait, guys, did you know Subway has breakfast? Everyone's getting dialed in now. This could get interesting. This looks like an aggressive field.
Aggressive and hungry for a breakfast made to their order.
Yeah, they're revving their engines, and the green flag's not even out yet.
There's the green, and here we go. Pit crew jumps to the inside and grabs the early lead.
Whoa, they're really mixing it up tough out there.
Yeah, no cautions today, though, guys.
We do not need a late race caution.
There is plenty of bumping and shoving going on. And well, now we got trouble.
There goes his shot at building a better breakfast.
Oh, and now it appears there is a problem for pit crew.
Adam, he'll have to hit the pit road and get that looked at.
You just hate to see that happen.
It looks like reporter is drafting off a camera guy. Have you ever?
No, I've never.
You know, there's a lot riding on this race. A made-to-your-order breakfast sandwich with whatever you want, like a steak and cheese omelet sandwich on flatbread with jalapenos, banana peppers, spicy chipotle sauce. You name it, and build it the way you want it.
Adam, I know I'd do whatever it takes to win. How about you, Larry? Larry? Where'd he go?
Wait, is that?
Wow!
Welcome to the party, Larry Mack.
Looks like Larry's still got something left in the tank, Adam. But do you think he can close the deal?
Here they come to the finish. It's Larry McReynolds taking the checkered flag.
Subway now has breakfast. Fuel your morning with a breakfast sandwich made just the way you want. Like the steak and cheese omelet sandwich on toasty flatbread. Or the delicious double bacon and egg muffin melt. Made to your order with your favorite fresh veggies and sauces. Build your better breakfast at Subway today.
Subway. Eat fresh.
For a driver that had gloom and doom during practice here on Tuesday, what about Elliott Sadler tonight? Looking very good in that blue number 19.
Yeah, he's right there. He's hanging on. He's got Kyle Busch right on the back. So he's in some pretty good company right there.
Yeah, he bounced up the racetrack a little bit right there, and the 18 car got up under him. But at the same time the 18 car got up under him, the leader switched to the outside line, the 29 did, to pull the outside line and left the 18 hung out.
And if you look at Biffle back there, Biffle is about in the 13th spot right now, so he has slid way back.
Wow, did you see it?
Yeah.
That 12 car, oh, look at that 29. 12 car goes in the corner right on the bumper of the 29 and just loses a nose and chases that thing all the way to the wall. And you see he lost so much momentum. These guys are 3 wide under him in the trial right here, 2 wide.
Opens the door for Elliott Sadler, who led that lap, the 6th different driver to pull this field around tonight at Daytona. More on Elliott Sadler. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
And guys, I talked to Elliott before the race, and he said, man, that car completely different in that happy hour than it was in that first practice when they struggled so much, like you were talking about, Kyle. And he's one of those guys with 4 tires. That may have been the difference here. He was able to drive to the front. No changes on that first stop for Elliott. And should we be surprised? He's always good here at Daytona, isn't he, guys?
Yeah, I don't think we should be surprised in Elliott as a driver, because Elliott can drive a race car. That's how simple it is. I think I'm extremely surprised at how far off they were to come to lead this thing a day and a half or 2 days later. That's pretty impressive.
Tell you what's another impressive storyline that's developing early here. We talked about the success for Team Penske. Outside lane, 3rd and 4th cars in line. You've got Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski. We mentioned them earlier and how good they've looked in the early going, but there were 12 cars that actually went out for qualifying yesterday before it was washed out. The quickest of those, Sam Hornish Jr. He's about 3rd in line on the bottom
man,
right
watch
now.
out, guys. You got to watch that. That could have been big right there. Just all that was defensive driving, trying to keep guys behind each other. So I don't know how the 19 didn't get turned in the wall on that deal.
The 19 was turned to the outside. He just saved it and brought it back to the inside. I think Kyle Busch made such a move to the left. It really startled the guys behind him, and they didn't know whether to go with him or to go with the 19. And I'm going to tell you, we're here once again. Here we are with the 19 and the 2, the Busch brothers up front. These 2 cars have been impressive in the first little bit of this race, with the 29 hanging right there. These are the 3 cars right now.
You got Truex snuck up there right there to the bottom line, too.
Truex, a driver that was very good and just missed an opportunity of winning here in February. Kurt Busch leaving his brother and pulling to the outside to follow Elliott Sadler in the high lane.
Now, you see the 18 come off the corner and get a little bit of a run. You see Elliott Sadler come down on his door and comes down on his door and then swings back out to the wall. That almost stops the 18.
18's coming in.
Having trouble here.
Yeah, because he looked like he was all over that steering wheel. So he's obviously feels something wrong in that car.
An unscheduled pit stop, lap 28 is when we will get the service.
11, 10,
He's
3, 2, 1.
Let's go to Phil.
Kyle Busch said he thought he had a loose wheel. They're going to come in. They're not sure which side it is. They will probably put 4 tires on this car, but Kyle reported in about 4 or 5 laps ago. He said it felt like it was a rear, but he definitely feels like he has a loose wheel.
Kyle Busch, one of 6 different drivers to lead this race here tonight.
You know, and he's going to be he's probably going to go a lap down. I mean, he's going to pit these guys out of the pits, but yeah, he'll be the lucky dog if the caution comes out. So all he's got to do is ride.
Yeah, and you saw him come down pit road there, and you pointed out, Wally, on the monitor here, he was adjusting his brakes so as not to lock the front or lock the rear. Now, when he goes back out, he'll readjust his brakes for what he's doing on the racetrack. But to get down pit road, that was incredibly interesting to watch him adjust the brakes so he's not got too much rear brake when he gets there.
Fans, everyone's favorite Cup car design contest is back. The Toyota Racing Sponsifire 2 is underway with new features. To design a car and learn more about the contest, visit Sponsifire.com.
Well, we wanted to do something for our fans.
I want Kyle Busch in a pink car in a pink suit.
Nice. And now, they get to be our sponsors.
I'm a 7-tier Warlock, which at my age is extremely rare, 34. With this contest, I can put that out to the world. Up to now, it's just my van getting the word out. I'm choosing Joey Logano as my avatar. I feel he is a worthy ally.
This has always been artistic.
And she loves those cats.
I'm a little over it, to be honest with you.
Who doesn't like kittens, bunnies, and little baby seals?
I love you.
No, thank you, sweetheart.
No, write that on the spoiler.
Okay.
Design a new car, win new prizes at ToyotaRacing.com.
Sam Hornish Jr.'s had a nice run through the field tonight. He hopped out of line and helps push Kevin Harvick back to the race lead. Driver 29 has led more laps than anyone here tonight.
You know, I tell you, Harvick's car has got to be awfully good because I mean, you look at what happened. Bivol sitting at 29th spot on that pit stop, and Harvick is still hanging tough up there.
Updating Kyle Busch, you don't see him on our Toyota driver update here. That's because he had to make that unscheduled pit stop. He scored in the 38th position, but he is still on the lead lap.
And I know this means absolutely nothing right now, but let's go back one more time. 3 Penske cars in the top 6 right here. We talked about it in February down here for the 500. They've got a speedway program that's impressive right now, and their stuff, all their cars seem to be handling real well. You know, Harvick will drive his way back up there and lead the thing, and then they just leave him hanging. They'll go to the outside, they'll go to the inside. As we see Jeff Gordon go by here, he's dropped back a little bit. And these guys are trying to catch back up, but the field is so disjointed right now. You see them get to the corner, they're 3 wide. When they get back in line, they just barely catch up with each other, and then they get to the corner and they spread out again. Some of these guys are working a little bit better up top than they are on the bottom. Some a little bit better on the bottom than they are up top. But they've got to give each other room when they get to the corner to let these things slide a little bit as you see them working around.
And you have 7 laps left to log on to NASCAR.com/TNT Million and get your picks in. Perhaps Kyle Busch having to make an early unscheduled pit stop means you need to make some changes to your selections. Pick the top 10 finishers in tonight's race in the correct order. You could win up to $1 million, and just by playing, you definitely could win 1,000 bucks. 7 different leaders in this race tonight. 34 of the 160 laps complete. 2 drivers that we have definitely kept our eye on. Kevin Harvick, who's led 19 laps, and Kurt Busch, who is pulling the field around now. And I'll tell you someone we haven't discussed a great deal, the top running Toyota, David Rudiman, has been solid here this evening.
Yeah, you kind of look up and you don't even know where these guys came from. You've got Rudiman's up there. Let's try to get on board somebody here. I'd like to see how much these guys are working the throttle. Because, you know, Kyle was talking about these cars going off the racetrack, and a lot of times you'll drive down in here, get off the throttle, the car just slides up there. You've got to give it all the racetrack. You can hear him working the throttle right there. And he's working the throttle because it knows something's not gripping. I don't know if somebody was up above him or not. But when you hear somebody stabbing the throttle like that, it's because you're waiting for the car to grip before you can get back all the way in it. And now all of a sudden Harvick's losing a lot of spots.
Yeah, and it's funny because he had the lift coming out of turn 2. That was down the backstretch. But see, he was able to run through that corner wide open. You know, a lot of times down here you'll see drivers and you'll run behind somebody and their car's not exactly right. And as we ride with Kevin Harvick right here, a lot of drivers will come down into the corner and ease out before they get to the corner. Yeah, you see that thing get
awfully loose right there.
Right there. Oh, that's pretty close quarters right there.
Guys, all I know is I think Kevin Harvick in that 29 car that has fallen back to 15th, and you look at Greg Biffle has fallen back to 29th. They are now paying the price for changing just 2 right side tires.
I agree with you, Larry. That's why I was shocked when they did it. Just knowing how this racetrack is for this race, those guys go with 2 tires. I mean, I just think you have to go with four tires tonight, unless it's towards the end of the race.
Well, they know now it won't work.
More on the 29 with Marty Snyder.
As you can tell, way too loose, guys. You can tell from that replay. But you can hear Kevin's voice after that stop. He kind of wanted 4 on that stop, but I think what happened was they're all the way at the turn 1 end of pit road, the very first stall at the end of pit road. They saw everybody else take 4, so Wally and Kyle. I think Gil Martin felt like he had to take 2 there just to keep the track position to keep up with everybody else. You know, follow their strategy.
Yeah, you know, but if you're going to win a race like this kind of race, you can't follow everybody else's strategy. You got to, and especially when you had the car that Kevin Harvick looked like he had when the race started, because he just drove back up anytime he wanted to drive.
These guys he's racing have better tires than he does now. It's not an even deal.
Yeah. You talk about, in other sports, you talk about playing an opponent and not playing the opponent's game, playing your own game. Right there, if that is a fact, then Gil and those guys let the other teams play them. And that's not how you win games. That's not how you win a race.
First leads the way for race fans. First is the HTC Evo 4G, and it's only from Sprint.
First is the beginning. First leads. First kicks open the door and possibilities follow. Other than curiosity, nothing comes before first. The greatest thing since first is first. First resets everything. First takes us places we've never been. We all want first. First isn't later, it's now. What will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone? Only from Sprint, the Now Network.
Told you at the beginning of the night, qualifying was rained out here yesterday, but Tony Stewart unable to stay in his scheduled starting position inside the top 10 because he was in a backup car. Stewart's not made a lot of progress. Worked very hard on his machine on their first pit stop of the night. The defending race winner still scored back in the 30th position. Kurt Busch continues out front. Elliott Sadler enjoying his ride right behind him. And if you drift back in this group, see the bright orange car look familiar? Jamie McMurray piloted that one machine victory lane here back in February. How are they feeling about it tonight, Matt?
The first part of the race, Adam, he felt like he had probably one of the best cars on the racetrack. Much more grip than any of the cars that were racing around him. He could go on the bottom, the middle, or on the top. They made a slight chassis adjustment. He told Kevin Bonomanian, we have taken all the grip out of this machine. We're going to have to back up that adjustment we made, but he has just now climbed back into the top 10.
And everyone now chasing Elliott Sadler, who used the outside lane and some drafting help to drive around Kurt Busch. He's the new race leader. What's the story with Kurt Busch, Ralph?
Well, Adam, he says he's got a real handful out there. In fact, it's kind of interesting, Kyle and Wally, he says when he gets in behind somebody, the car tends to tighten up. When he gets out into the lead, it gets loose. In fact, it gets loose everywhere. And he said this might be a byproduct of these cars on this racetrack tonight. That's what he told his crew.
You know what, Ralph, you're exactly right. What's happening, these guys get in the corners, and it's doing different things. They're spanning out in the corners because they need the room. They can't run into the corner side by side like they used to, but these cars are a handful. You're exactly right, and it looks like it because once they get to the corners, they fan out, and they're looking for as much real estate as possible.
Those Penske cars hooking up again. This time it's Sam Hornish Jr. on the bottom lane, getting help from Kurt Busch. Watch TBS tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Cal Ripken, Dennis Eckersley, David Wells, and host Matt Weiner unveil the 2010 MLB All-Star rosters, followed by the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees at 1 p.m. Eastern, only on TBS. Sam Hornish Jr. sideways as he tries to grab the lead. Nice save. I bet the radio chatter was interesting on that one, Phil.
It sure was, Adam. He told this crew chief, Travis Geisler, that he needed the car just a little bit tighter. And I'll say after those pictures that it's pretty evident that he needs a little bit tighter, but the car is very, very fast. He's driven his way up all the way up to the lead.
Sam Hornish Jr., a driver who has struggled throughout 2010. But has been very good here tonight. Larry looks solid.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking about Sam Hornish Jr. Right now, if you notice, there's not a car in front of him. So he's getting all that clean air on the nose, and it's really pinning the nose. And then you take someone running up behind him, like his teammate Keselowski, it's really going to magnify looseness. Until they get that thing tightened up, it's going to be hard for him to be out front lead.
Yeah, I think you're... And something else I look at, Larry, these guys don't look like they want to run right behind the 77. There's a couple of guys that got right up on the 77 like they were going to help him and saw him get loose, and they backed way off. When a guy's that loose in front of you, you do not want to make it too much worse.
You've got to have a good mental checklist when you come to Daytona. This portion of TNT's Wide Open coverage brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Scorching speeds, heated rivalries, hot laps, burning grills, boiling tempers, victory burnouts, and smoking hot trophy queens. A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer and the official beer of NASCAR.
Yeah, it looks like Montoya's trying to make something happen down there, but it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of people willing to work with him either.
You know, and the funny part is sometimes, you know, you can go in high and feather into the corner and then run off strong. And you can go in strong, but you can't come off as strong. You know what I mean? Because the car begins to take off, so it equalizes itself. And you see Montoya dive to the bottom and kind of gain on him through the center part of the corner, but at the same time, you see the two get that run up off the corner a lot of times and come back by him. Just as soon as I say it, but it doesn't happen. So there we go. I'm a genius. Really.
We do it all the time, don't we? We do it all the time.
Yeah. But he celebrates when he's right, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, yes.
I appreciate the fact that you take the good with the bad. You talk about Montoya, his owner, a winner earlier today. The Grand Am Rolex Series running here at Daytona and the Daytona Prototype Division.
But he's not, you know, the 42's not content to just sit there and run in line. You know, he's one of those guys that he'll keep pulling out and hoping that somebody's going to go with him one of these times.
You know, what's pretty good about watching this group right here, this pack of about 10 or 15 cars has really separated itself. As we see this shot right there, those guys have separated themselves from the next pack behind them, which is fairly impressive because there's some good cars in that next pack.
What's the word in the 42 camp, Marty?
Yeah, also, KP, all these guys up here in this pack, 4 tire guys. Wow, Jimmy Johnson very loose in front of Montoya, and that's Montoya's problem. He said off the quarter, extremely loose. So for him, he said, I would like to run that high line if I can get people to go with me. He's a little more comfortable with a loose race car running it up high when he can, although he's on the low line right now, guys.
In the category of what a difference a year makes, David Rudiman, at this time last season, 14th in the standings and very much alive for a playoff position. This year he's 19th, but he comes to a place where he had a great run earlier in the year. 5th in the Daytona 500. And Rudiman's been strong here this season.
Two-car took off and went to the wall. Now you can see the more they run on these tires, the more these cars are going to handful. And here comes a 48. I think he's probably maybe had enough.
30 laps. Actually 31 since his last pit stop. What about it, Matt Yoakum?
The 2006 Daytona 500 winner making his way down pit road. Great save through the tri-oval. Keyed his mic and said, I believe I've got a right rear tire going down. Chad Canals told him, just get clear, get safe, and bring it down. The right side tires are off, left side's going on. They're going to immediately start checking over those tires to see if indeed he's got one going down.
I think everybody thinks they've got a right rear tire going down right now on the racetrack.
A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost brewed Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR.
Scorching speeds, heated rivalries, hot laps, burning grills, boiling tempers, victory burnouts, and smoking hot trophy queens. A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer and the official beer of NASCAR.
A pit stop for Jimmie Johnson at lap 47. Lap 48 bringing A.J. Allmendinger down the pit lane. Meanwhile, it's Sam Hornish Jr. who pulls Allmendinger's teammate around, Elliott Sadler in the runner-up position. More on Jimmie Johnson and his stop a minute ago. Let's go back down to Matt.
And Jimmy just told Chad Canals the car is fine. And when you look at the tires that came off, indeed the right rear has started to chunk and the carcass had started to separate the center section of that tire. So Jimmy did indeed have a major tire issue going on.
We talked about the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit here at Daytona. It can be tough under green. Let's look back at Jimmie Johnson when he came down a moment ago.
Coming off on the outside, trying to come outside on you, coming outside.
That was a good move by Jeff Burton. I mean, the 48 got in there. I don't even think. See, you never saw a hand or anything come up. Normally, you're going to tell the guy behind you you're coming into pit lane. Now, Jimmie Johnson may have decided he needed to do it right at the last second. But I'll tell you what, when you're following somebody, they decide to hit pit lane before they let you know. It's close. Jeff Burton did a nice job avoiding the 48.
Now, the interesting part here, you see these two guys running together. You know what I mean? And these are the two guys that the 18, where the leaders at? Right here?
Yep.
Right here behind them. But at least these two guys can get hooked up. And the 48 has better tires, and maybe he could drag the 18. So the 18 never gets lapped because the 18 thought he had a loose wheel. The 48 thought he had a flat tire. So as those guys pit, they may be able to catch the cycle enough, even though they're off cycle like we saw last week with Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart came back to finish second. So it's not as bad at this stage in the race as you may think. The problem is you got the 48 and the 18 if they get lapped.
That's what I was going to say.
Lucky dog.
Yeah,
that's
right,
the only problem.
Exactly. Those guys they've got to run hard.
The other driver that made the unscheduled stop, A.J. Allmendinger, he not so fortunate because of where he was running on the racetrack when he came to pit road. He has already lost a lap.
Yeah, these guys are going to be coming in, I think, a lot earlier than we thought because of these tire issues.
Matt Kenseth is in for his stop. Ralph?
Matt Kenseth is coming in. He's had a struggle with his car all day today. In fact, he was very concerned about the tires that came off that car in the last stop. Crew told him everything was okay. They'll change forward. He's back underway.
I tell you what, Ralphie, I just saw a tire. I don't know which tire it was, but it was down to the cord that came off that 17 car.
So Matt Kenseth, another one of those drivers that comes here under green earlier than what we would have thought the pit window would be. All the while, Sam Hornish Jr. continues to lead. Tony Stewart's working hard behind the wheel of his 14 car, but it looks like he's been working pretty hard off the track. Let's take a look.
Tony Stewart loves flame broiling like it's his job. And for one day, it is. He's working a shift at a real BK to sell the Smoky Cheddar Steakhouse XT.
Welcome to Burger King. Can I take your order? How was that?
On July 19th, see Tony work at a real BK to sell the Smoky Cheddar Steakhouse XT.
Updating Tony's progress here tonight. Started the tail of the field on a backup car that had made no laps. Right now, Smoke scored in the 26th position. Still plenty of time for him. Sam Hornish Jr. leading laps for the first time ever at Daytona. Nice battle for second. Montoya to the outside of Kurt Busch. And Elliott Sadler's coming with him. A.J. Allmendinger at the tail of that mix is one lap down. Just joining us at Daytona, one caution here this evening. It was a competition caution put out by NASCAR at lap 17. Rain prior to this race made for a green racetrack, so that the decision NASCAR made for all the teams. Other than that, we've been very clean here this evening. You see the lap leaders bottom of your screen. Harvick has drifted back in the pack after leading a number of laps early. That a result of a two-tire pit stop at lap 17.
You can see on some of these cars the handle's going off, like it's almost like a light switch.
You saw the 43 slide up in front of the 2. The 2 checks up a little bit right there, and now the 2's almost lost the draft on these guys. They're just pointing the car and aiming at a place on the racetrack right now.
Left of your screen, Elliott Sadler's been in the hunt all night long. He makes a stop. Down to the 1 pit stop with Matt.
A grip issue this past run. You can see they backed up the chassis adjustment they made on the first stop. Let's go up pit road to Marty.
Matt, a little too loose for Elliott Sadler. Half a round down on the track bar to tighten up. 4 tires and a good stop for this 19 crew.
Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards. Some of the other drivers making pit stops under green. See Greg Biffle, Marcos Ambrose exiting the pit lane.
These guys are going to be pretty spread out, too. You know, they're coming in and they're leaving the pit lane, and they're going to be spread out. It's not going to be like you're going to have a big pack.
Let's follow the 2 pit stop, Ralph.
Well, they're going to do 1 round of wedge, 4 tires of fuel, and an air pressure adjustment for Kurt Busch, Phil.
Ralph, they're going to go down 2.5 rounds on the track bar and put a little bit of air in the left rear as we see the 46 car smoking on the racetrack. Sam said the car is a little bit loose everywhere.
A tire issue for J.J. Yaley. Let's follow Kevin Harvick, Marty.
At the very end of pit road, before tires this time for Harvick, who has said, I don't want 2 tires again in this race. 2 loose and air pressure and wedge adjustment. Phil?
Tony Stewart was in. They adjusted on the splitter on that first round of caution flag pit stop. This time 4 tires for Tony Stewart.
Scott Speed leaving the pit lane with Tony Stewart, so there will be drafting help there. Jeff Burton is in front of Marty Snyder.
Hung in there in the top 10. Adam, he said the car was looser than they had expected on that last adjustment. He was loose, and you see him miss his pit stall. He's in Elliott Sadler's stall. They have to back it up. That's going to cost him a ton of time here, especially under green flag stops. A costly pit stop for this 31 team. Up front, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of him, pitting on pit road. Said the car is way too tight. They went too far on the last adjustment. He said the front end feels so stiff. They need to work on that. They did that with air pressure and wedge for the 88 bunch.
Montoya had cycled around as the race leader, but now he will come off the banking and make his pit stop at lap 58. First, let's follow Jeff Gordon in front of Ralph.
Here comes a 24. Jeff Gordon, he gets in a little angled in his pit stop. They're going to take 4 tires on this one. He's going to be okay. Marty, they're going to make that pit stop. No chassis adjustments.
As the caution comes out, Ralph, Juan Pablo Montoya sitting on pit road described his car as snappy loose. They go down on the track bar 1 round trying to tighten up 4 tires and back out on the racetrack.
And as Montoya exits the pit lane, you see right behind him J.J. Yaley. We showed you him driving around track, the problems with that right front tire. He was able to make it to pit road, but littering debris on the track all the way around, and thus a caution thrown by NASCAR for debris on the track.
Yeah.
Let's go back and look at Kurt Busch coming to pit road for his green flag stop. Right behind him.
God, all these guys are locking up the right front like crazy.
And those are all Penske cars. All three of those cars are Penske cars coming down pit road, and every one of them has the front. As we followed Kurt all the way to his pit box, you see the 24 here, and I want to make a point here. There's the 37 in the pit. This is what you hate as a crew chief. You try to coordinate with the guy pitting next to you. I'll come in one lap, you come in the next lap. What happened here, these guys pitted at the same time, which hurt Jeff getting in the pits. If he had had to continue this, he lost some time getting in, because you never know when that guy's going to pull out. But you see these guys talk a lot and say, stay out one extra lap.
But another thing on this front brake thing, guys, you can't, as loose as these cars are, you have to have a lot of front brake, because if you even touch the brake on this place and you're loose, you are going to be spinning out. So that's why these guys have so much front brake dialed into these cars. It hurts them getting on a pit lane, but it saves them from crashing during the green flag.
Yeah, and I think that's what we saw some of Kyle Busch doing when he come in, was trying to adjust some of that out so that he didn't have those issues coming in. So he didn't come in and lock the fronts and flat spots the fronts. He wanted to lock, he tried to get as equal as he could at the time.
Hey, guys, that caution was a huge break for Kyle Busch, because it was only going to be about 6 to 8 laps before he was going to have to make another green flag stop. So this kind of puts him even with everybody. Now, we know everyone that just pitted in the last 3 to 4 laps possibly will not come back to pit road, but you got a lot of guys like Jimmie Johnson, the 48, a lot of them back in the pack on the lead lap. I think you'll see a lot of cars pit right here, since you've got a chance and an opportunity to make more adjustments.
The free pass to Robert Richardson Jr. And there you see Kyle Busch. Let's follow up on the issue Matt Kenseth had with his tire, Ralph.
Well, we've been able to chase this down. Here it is, hidden back in here. You can see that tire, and here's that problem that Wally saw. Look at that right rear tire, Wally. They have really chewed right through this thing. In fact, they're coming back in to put 4 more new tires on for Matt Kenseth here as quick as they can get him in. Matt had asked about the tires on the first pit stop. Crew told him everything was okay. I don't suppose a crew chief would ever lie to his driver, would he, to make him feel more confident, would he?
I'll tell you, that's incredible. That really is. That to eat up the tire like that, I don't know how much adjustment you can make to fix that.
Yeah, and part of that's coming in the pits and sliding on it, but it was eat up pretty bad when you start looking at the stuff.
But that was a rear tire.
Yeah, that was a rear tire, and that's the issue when you're hanging on that much and it's that loose.
Talked about the brake for Kyle Busch. He's getting his service now, Phil.
Yeah, as they said, they're going to have to work on the left rear stud. Remember, that unscheduled pit stop was due to a loose left rear wheel. They're going to have to work on the studs and clean up the threads, Matt.
Jimmie Johnson, another one of those cars that pitted under this caution. Chassis adjustment for the 48 as well.
Second caution of the night for debris. The race leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. We return to Daytona in a moment. You're watching wide open coverage of the Coke Zero 400. We have just about cleaned up caution number 2 here at Daytona in the Coke Zero 400. Good to have you with us for NASCAR on TNT on this 4th of July weekend. Juan Pablo Montoya, the race leader. Jeff Gordon, Reed Sorensen, Brad Keselowski, and Elliott Sadler, the top 5. A moment ago, Jeff Burton came in under green and had problems. Marty?
And guys, what Jeff said is when he came to his pit box, you could see, he said he couldn't see his sign. He was going towards Elliott Sadler's box, looking for that 31 sign. They just put back over the wall right there. So what they've done, they have now rigged a light to the top of that sign. Jeff requested that a light be on his sign so that he could see it when he came to pit road. They're working on that right now as we speak, trying to make the light on top of the sign. And guys, Kyle and Wally, you know it's hard any day on pit road to see your sign, much less at night, and you don't really know what you're looking for. So Jeff requested a light on his sign.
I'm a little surprised. You know, normally I always had my crew chief count me down. you know, if we were 8 spots away, you know, 8, 7, 6, 5, it would help you look in the direction where you're going to turn left. That situation, there was nobody on pit road in front of him, which is just, that's really, that's a mistake that Jeff Burton normally doesn't make.
Yeah, normally doesn't make it. And like you said, your crew chief would count you down, or the spotter would count you down. You know what I mean? One or the other. And obviously, he was just focused on something and his eyes locked in.
Coming up, a look at Piranha 3D in theaters everywhere on August 20th. This summer, 3D shows its teeth.
For 2 million years, they have been trapped, surviving, evolving, waiting.
I'm thinking about closing the lake.
There's us and there's 20,000 kids. You do the math.
They hunt in packs. The first bite draws blood. The blood draws the pack.
They're coming!
Please help!
This summer,
I need the National Guard.
3D
I need all the forces in your power to deploy.
shows its teeth.
Oh my God.
Piranha 3D. This film is not yet rated.
A couple of other items here under caution. We pointed out this being a good opportunity for Kyle Busch to get back on cycle with other cars up front. Not as good for his brother Kurt under caution, who made a pit stop and was caught speeding. He just came back down and topped off the fuel tank, so he will be a little bit better in regard to fuel mileage than some of the other drivers, but unfortunately he has lost a great deal of track position. Phil Parsons.
Adam Sam Hornish Jr. drove from the 30th position all the way up to the lead. When he came in for his green flag pit stop on lap 56, he had a little bit of a blister on the right rear. His crew chief, Travis Geisler, said it's definitely a heat issue, but the Goodyear engineers have assured him that their tires look among the best on pit road right now.
Montoya, a pair of top 10 finishes this year in the 2 restrictor plate races. The race leader, outside of him, Jeff Gordon. And right behind Montoya, Reed Sorensen started at the back of the field tonight in a backup car that had no laps on it because of the incident here in the happy hour practice session on Thursday. I would say so far so good for Team Red Bull. Right behind him, Brad Keselowski. Those the front 2 rows, and you heard the report from Phil Parsons on Sam Hornish Jr. He restarts 6th. To the inside of him, Elliott Sadler, who's been very strong in the early going here this evening. We will complete lap 63 when drivers take the green flag and cross the start-finish line. It's time to go back at it here at Daytona.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. There's a car with a big bass on it that is slowly working its way towards the front. He just really has been playing it smart. He's got a really good race car. We saw it in practice, and Jamie McMurray, that one car, sitting right there.
Always a fine balance, Kyle, between patience and aggression when you come to a place like this. McMurray, very balanced, started 17th, and as Wally pointed out, here we are as things starting to heat up. He's knocking on the door.
That 11 was getting ready to knock on the wall right there a little bit. But you're right. It is patience, and he's gradually worked his way up, just like he did in the 500. And I think that's the deal. These guys are a little bit aggressive on these new tires because they know they got to get their position now. Because they know, a lot of them know, my God, I don't know what my car is going to do after 12 laps. I don't know what my car is going to do after 15 laps. And we saw these packs, this pack, separate in that last run, really get spread out. So these guys don't want to get spread out again.
Right, and that's just as we say that, McMurray gets caught in the middle right there. So he's going to have to find his way out in a hurry, and he does. He gets a break there. Elliott Sadler down on the bottom, losing a couple of spots right now.
Jeff Gordon in that outside lane, the new race leader. You're watching the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola on TNT.
There's these footprints, so I figure that's how we fled.
He's yours, Sutton.
What?
You tracked him through the scene, damn it.
No, lock this place down.
TNT Tuesday.
Where is she?
A new kind of detective is on the beat.
Now write it down. No more questions without an arrest. So arrest him.
And he's like nothing you've seen before.
I'll investigate this for you if you want, but we're gonna have to go talk to your mama.
He doesn't have it in him, I can tell.
Bingo, Dwight.
Bingo.
He may not always do things by the book. Fellas? But I trust Dwight when he's got one of his feelings.
I'd like to second that.
Me too.
Tuesday.
It's got murder, love, betrayal, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Have mercy. Solving crime takes a little down-home justice.
I will hunt you down and I will make you pay.
And a whole lot of Southern charm.
You are but a peasant in this vast kingdom called woman.
Meet television's coolest new cop, Memphis Beat. All new Tuesday at 10 on TNT. We know drama.
When you're a part of Wide Open coverage on TNT, you don't miss any of the action. And unfortunately, this action involving A.J. Allmendinger bringing out our third caution of the night.
Yeah, and he just, I don't know if he came off the corner and got loose or got tapped in the rear. He just shot out of the pack right here. You see him right here, 31 behind him. He tucks down under. The 18 comes off the wall, and they just get together right there. And part of this is you see the racetrack still a little damp here. As he's sliding, and this thing begins to slide, he's in the gas trying to make it do something, but there's no grip on that wet racetrack, and he just slides into the inside wall.
Yeah, what happens is he tries to stay off the 18. You can see him cut down on the 18, and as he's cutting down, he's getting loose, and him and the 18 made contact.
It was Bobby Labonte that went right behind Allmendinger as he slid down. Watch the inside lane.
The 18 did
being in front of you, stay where you are, just keep coming. Caution's out, caution.
Right in there with Jeff Burton, and now the other end of this business, trying to repair the car so he can continue on. Best career finish for AJ was here in 2009 in the Daytona 500, and he had been on quite a roll lately in 2010, but he will be a driver that won't figure into the finish here this evening.
I don't think I'd want to drive that, do you?
I don't want the spoiler that far down, but it'd be good for qualifying.
For one lap.
One lap.
Ooh. Mike Bliss received the free pass and a little shot fake from Kevin Harvick and some of the others, but behind him, here they come down pit road, led by Kasey Kahne. He's the first to elect to get some service here. Matt?
And it's been a work in progress for the 9 team. Again, another track bar adjustment. Kasey too free on the bottom, but definitely cannot run the top. Way too free up there. Air pressure change as well, Phil.
Jimmie Johnson, 4-time champion, came in. Little quick pit work here. Looked like 2 tires for the Cobalt car.
Elliott Sadler leads pit road, 4 tires. Car was a little too loose for Elliott's liking. They go down once again on the track bar, trying to tighten him up.
Saw Tony Stewart exiting pit road. He has been there frequently tonight after starting at the tail of the field. On the other end of that, Hamlin started at the back. He's up to 3rd. Jeff Gordon, your leader at Daytona. "12 laps from halfway in the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Started this race 90 minutes behind schedule after a rain shower moved you through here earlier this evening. But we are racing now, and Jeff Gordon is the race leader. The Coke Zero Fan 400 is happening right now online. Go to CokeZero.com and vote for your favorite driver.
We saw some guys having some problems on the restart, spinning tires. It'll be interesting to see if these guys have that same problem with the guys that didn't change tires. It's hard to go. It's hard to go on this thing on the restarts.
The top 9 cars stayed on track. And there were a number of others that did as well, but that's where the break was as far as the first group that elected to pit. And you see Denny Hamlin, obviously one of the drivers that did not come down pit road under this caution. He's advanced 35 spots. When we restart, it will be the first 18 cars on the track that did not get service. The first of those that did come down pit road, Jimmie Johnson, who will restart in the 19th position. We're set to go back under the green flag as we have wrapped up our 3rd caution of the night, a spin by A.J. Allmendinger. Gordon and Keselowski on the front row. Hamlin, Montoya, and Hornish Jr. join him inside the top 5. There's a couple of names we haven't heard much from in a while. Kevin Harvick restarts 9th, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. going off 10th as we get the green flag once again here at Daytona.
Montoya's all over that 12 car, pushing him down in that corner.
Oh, wow. That's almost too far. Like I said, you got to get off a guy's bumper when you get to turning that car. The 12 didn't get a good start, but the 42 kind of helped him on that. Pushed him back right up there going down the straightaway, and he's continuing to push him.
Interesting, you see Brad Keselowski be on the receiving end of the push from Montoya. Under caution, Jeff Gordon was talking about the exact same thing, saying Brad Keselowski a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, like I said, what happens, we had a little problem there with the audio, but what happens is it's all right to lean on a guy going down the straightaway. You just got to breathe the car. You got to get off the guy's bumper, you know, before you start turning the wheel, because if you're still on the guy's bumper when you turn the wheel, you're going to turn him sideways.
Yeah, it takes a 17, 18, 21-foot car and makes it a 42-foot car. And the guy in front is turning left, where you still got your steering wheel pointed straight. As he turns left, you're just pushing through him, and it turns him around getting in the corner. That's why you got to breathe it a little bit and let that guy have some room to get into the corner and then go back to him.
That's basically what Jeff Gordon was saying. We didn't have the audio, and we apologize for that. But he said, tell the 12 to be careful. He'll wreck us all. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. More from him on Marty.
It's been an up and down night for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Currently going the correct direction, though. He said earlier that they went too far with an adjustment. The car was way too tight. He said the front end is just so stiff, guys. It almost feels like there's a vibration out there. How rough the ride is out there feels like a vibration in the car. That's a pretty rough ride, isn't it, Kyle Long?
Yeah, it's really. But as we're talking about Dale Jr., he didn't give that 00 any room as they came up off the corner and got into him a little bit. Had to check out. And when Dale Jr. had to check up, they just freight trained him on both sides.
After inventing a drink with real Coke taste and 0 calories, Coke Zero now gives NASCAR fans an exclusive peek at Jeff Burton's pit stop.
Hey, it's Jeff Burton. I'm doing everything I can to win the Coke Zero 400 tonight, but I need your help to win another race happening online, the Coke Zero Fan 400. Go to CokeZero.com and vote for me. And listen, if you're the fan of another driver and plan on voting for him, just don't bother going online. Just sit there and watch the race.
Our wide open coverage allowing you to see Juan Pablo Montoya take over the top spot here at Daytona. One of 10 different race leaders here tonight.
Making that car pretty wide back there on the back straightaway, Montoya was.
And I'm going to tell you something, Hamlin is all over that wall going through 1 and 2. But a lot of guys are, but they're making it work. Right now, they're up there with the newest pavement on the racetrack after 30 years is right up next to the wall. Okay, and they're still using that pavement to make time. But Juan and that crowd still hammering the bottom down there. You look at where the 11. Look how high he is right there.
Almost like we're at Darlington, right in the rim around this place.
Looks more like the king up there riding where that's where they always run. He and Pearson and those guys. But he's making it work, and you see he comes off the corner. Now Montoya goes to the high side and jumps in line behind him, cuts off the 24.
I'm not sure Jeff Gordon was impressed with the move Montoya made there.
He probably wouldn't, but here's what you watch this and you say, all right, the 11 has come from the back to the front, all on the high side, and the first thing he does when he gets to the lead is what? Go to the bottom. You know what I mean? And he goes to the bottom to try to figure out what's there because he's not been able to use that groove to get to the front.
Hey, what? Another guy's up there in 5th spot right now who had a real ugly tire that Ralph showed us is Kenseth.
It's been well documented, the struggles for Ford and the Roush Fenway organization in 2010. A pair of drivers starting to make their way to the front now. Wally, you mentioned Kenseth. He's 4th in line in that red and yellow car on the outside, and right behind him, teammate Carl Edwards.
And I don't think Carl's car was very good when they dropped the green flag. Those guys have adjusted their car. It's a lot more stable. We saw him lose the nose a few different times, and that's good that you see these guys are able to make adjustments and keep themselves in a race.
How they feeling about it in the 17 camp? Ralph?
Well, I don't know about the camp, but I can tell you the driver's a little bit happier, and that's really all that matters at this stage of the game. Because early on today, he was not happy at all, really struggling with the car. But I'll tell you one thing he does have working for him is they can work on the radios back and forth with their teammates. And earlier today, he was sharing information back and forth with Carl Edwards, and information like that is key.
Kyle Busch getting aggressive and sliding into the outside lane. He nearly went a lap down early after having to pit out of sequence under green, but a timely caution helped Kyle Busch get back in the game, and now he finds himself solidly inside the top 15. Here are Greg Biffle and David Reagan for more on how Goodyear supports our troops.
NASCAR trusts Goodyear on every car in every race. And tonight is the exciting kickoff of Goodyear's Support Our Troops initiative.
To NASCAR fans, the Goodyear blimp is a great way to view a race. But did you know the military used a Goodyear blimp to patrol the U.S. coastline after Pearl Harbor?
Goodyear supplies tires for thousands of U.S. military vehicles, and tonight they're inviting you to join them in supporting our troops.
Go to Goodyear.com to help support our troops.
Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
Denny Hamlin won back-to-back races starting 4 weeks ago at Pocono. He won there and at Michigan. His luck had not been great the last 2 weeks, and got off to a rough start here at Daytona with a practice crash. But man, here he is at the front leading this race. And another driver that had some bad luck, Kurt Busch. Remember, he was penalized for speeding on pit road under caution moments ago. He's back to the front, and his teammate, Sam Hornish Jr., going for the lead in the outside lane.
You know, that outside lane is working after about 8 or 10 laps. We saw Denny use it to go to the front, and now we see Hornish and those guys use it to go to the front.
Yeah, but the thing is, Denny kind of changed his line. He got out there up front, and then he started running the bottom. When running the highlight, got him in the lead.
Seen teammates working well together tonight on multiple occasions. We see it now. Look at that outside lane, 4 deep. Jamie McMurray in the bright orange #1, and right behind him in the target car, Juan Pablo Montoya working together out of the Chip Ganassi stables, and now Denny Hamlin starting to drift back a bit.
You know, at least you've got Hornish up there, and Hornish is staying with the girl that brought him to the dance, which is the highlight. You know what I mean? He's going to make these guys go under him at some point in time, and you saw, you know, the 17 look, and when he looked and the 48 jumped out beside of him, but he's going to make those guys drive under him.
But this is like about the same amount of laps in the run when the 77 was up front earlier. You know, it's like these guys, some of them are for the short run, some of them, you know, their cars are better right there in the middle, and then it looks like everybody goes to junk at the end.
What do you see, Larry?
Well, what I've been watching, and I think we'll have to get close to the end of the race. We are halfway right now to see if this is actually what's going on. But when I look at some cars back there just outside the top 20, like Ryan Newman, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, who made his way up into the top 15 before that first caution, it's almost like those guys tested the waters early to see how strong their car was. Now they're just sitting back in the weeds trying to stay out of harm's way and let the laps wind down.
See that group of cars Larry was referring to right here.
2x2.
David Reagan, a solid racer on the restrictor plate tracks back there. Reed Sorensen, who was in the top 5 earlier.
Logano has got his hands full right there. I saw a lap earlier.
Got some help there.
Where he got loose, and he got big time loose right there. And he was up and about this. He was up around the 7th or the 8th spot.
Yeah.
About 5 or 6 laps ago, but.
Look at the 40. Look at the 18 pulls out on the 48 right here. Watch the 48 close the door on the 18 as they get to the corner. He's there. He's there. He comes over. He comes over. He comes over.
That could have been big.
Yeah, that's a little reminiscent of what the 48 did to the 24 at Talladega. Just like he didn't know he was there and he just come over on him. The 18 lost a lot of ground. He's running back in about a lap and a half. But that's where the spotters and the drivers have to work together to say, hey, he's coming. He had a run on him. And the 18 had a run on the 48 at that time.
Missed the battle for the race lead. Sam Hornish Jr. leads it. Jimmy Johnson squeezing down on Kyle Busch. And it's that 3-car draft on the bottom that's going to have the advantage. Jamie McMurray, the 3rd one in line there.
And as a driver, I'm gonna say, as a driver, that's incredibly frustrating. You see the 48 work and work and work and get himself in a position to lead, and then everybody gets in the other line, and you go back to 4th
Gangs up on you.
Yeah, you hate that.
I don't know how you can come to Daytona after winning the 500 and be quiet, but McMurray has been very sneakish in getting to the front tonight, Matt.
One of the best race cars in practice. Remember, he didn't even run the 2nd practice because that car was so good, didn't want to take a chance. They've worked the past 2 runs to get this car back to the grip level it was the very first run. Now it's just a tick on the tight side, and he can run anywhere, bottom or top.
Just saw Elliott Sadler bounce off the wall there between 3 and 4. And he had been in the wall earlier, so this is about the 2nd time.
Let's look at it one more time. Top of your screen.
Yeah, he got put up there in the wall by the 00 of Rudiman.
His teammate Casey Kane looking very good in the top 5. This portion of TNT's wide open coverage of the Coke Zero 400 brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Scorching speeds, heated rivalries, hot laps, burning grills, boiling tempers, victory burnouts, and smoking hot trophy queens. A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer and the official beer of NASCAR.
Sam Hornish Jr. has been hanging on. He's been tested several times, but he's got 2 big boys ganging up on him on the outside. Kyle Busch being pushed by Jimmy Johnson. New leader at Daytona, 18 on point. Let's hear about the man that's now in the runner-up spot. Phil on Sam Hornish Jr.
Adam Travis Geisler, as crew chief, told Sam just a couple laps ago while he was leading that they were past halfway, and Sam said, let's start praying for rain then. So Sam Hornish would just as soon end her right now, but he's got some work to do. The 18 got by him.
And now he's under attack from a couple more. Jimmy Johnson with a little help from Jamie McMurray on the outside.
Hey, McMurray's car looks awfully impressive right now at this point in the race. I mean, he just seems to be able to work where he wants. The car looks like it's a little bit loose, but his car looked a little bit loose in the 500 when he won it back in February.
Clear all around.
See a great run right here. You can see he gets on the 77 car, so that car's pretty strong in a straight line as well.
Winning here, Kyle, so much about time and place, but you can make your life a lot easier as Sam Hornish Jr. squirrels around.
Well, the one got out of that because he thought it was going to be a wreck.
You saw the one just jump out of that right there. I mean, that was pretty vivid for you guys sitting at home to see how quick you have to react to see. You don't know what's going on in front, and he just jumps out of gas, loses like 3 positions. But
I don't think Hornish got out of the gas, but the one car did.
I think if Hornish saw that on TV, he'd come in the pits.
Yeah,
he'd come in and get it worked on.
Jeff Burton, one of the beneficiaries of McMurray sliding back. Haven't talked about Jeff much tonight. Former race winner here at Daytona. Of course, Burton had that issue on pit road where he lost a number of positions, but has been able to dig in and rally back into the top 5.
But what saved him, they talked about the 18 being saved. You know, we talked about the 18 being saved because of that caution. The caution saved Burton, too, because he was going to be in a totally different pack and a totally different race if we had come out under green. But the caution kept him in the pack, and he's found his way back to the front. But once again, we're seeing these guys, after a number of laps, get so spread out.
Kyle Busch, the man that leads them all. A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR.
Scorching speeds, heated rivalries, hot laps, burning grills, boiling tempers, victory burnouts, and smoking hot trophy queens. A sport this hot calls for a beer this cold. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer and the official beer of NASCAR.
Talked about Jeff Burton a moment ago and the adversities he has dealt with tonight. He is fourth right now. 6 spots behind him. Kurt Busch, who was sideways off the corner. Nice save on the 2. Let's go down to Larry McReynolds.
Well, guys, there's a lot of these drivers that are running up there in the top 8 to 12 that they elected to stay out the last 2 cautions because they pitted right before that caution at lap 58. So with 4 to 8 laps, you're going to see Montoya, you're going to see Hornish Jr., Keselowski, Ruderman, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick. A lot of those guys are going to have to make a green flag pit stop here in about the next 6 to 8 laps.
The drivers in first and second right now, Kyle Busch and Juan Pablo Montoya, last pitted under caution at lap 67. Excuse me, Jimmy Johnson pitted at lap 67. Montoya, part of that group that Larry mentioned, that did not come in under caution. Seen a great deal of side-by-side racing here tonight. I thought for a moment they were going to settle down.
Well, I think they, you know, these guys are getting all lined up. And like I said earlier, these guys are fanning out because they're trying to give each other plenty of room because their cars are not handling very well right now. Their cars and their tires aren't good enough to be running 6 deep side by side right now through the corners.
Sam Hornish Jr. out front a few moments ago has dropped back to 6th. All 3 of those Penske cars inside the top 13. Watch TBS tomorrow, noon Eastern time. Cal Ripken, Dennis Eckersley, David Wells, and host Matt Weiner unveil the 2010 MLB All-Star rosters, followed by the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. 1 p.m. Eastern time, only on TBS. Jeff Burton riding in the 3rd position there. It's Kyle Busch leading. NASCAR Sprint Cup fans, what will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone? Start creating first with the Everything Data Plan. More than ever, it's easier to do more than just make a phone call.
First has an 8-megapixel HD camera and can stream live video to the web. First has an HDMI out. First shares Wi-Fi with 8 devices at once. First isn't Jimmy Johnson, although he does come in first a lot. First has a kickstand for watching video. What will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone? Only from Sprint, the Now Network.
There aren't many of us who use a cell phone just to make phone calls. But when AT&T or Verizon offer you an unlimited plan for $69.99, that's all it's good for, phone calls. With Sprint, for the same price, you get unlimited text, unlimited web, and unlimited calling to every mobile phone in America. Now that's more like it.
$69.99 for unlimited text, web, and calling to any mobile in America. Only from Sprint.
Kyle Busch continues to lead here at Daytona. One of 11 different drivers that have been out front tonight. Driver 18 has led 12 circuits. Jimmy Johnson led the first lap of the night, and he is working that steering wheel as he drives to the outside.
I think it looked like it was loose getting in.
Yeah. It just rotates down in the corner. They look a lot. And if it looks like this from the TV, I can't imagine what it feels like sitting inside one of these things.
Let's find out what the situation is with Jimmie Johnson. Down to Matt Yocum.
A bunch of Chevrolets behind trying to help him team up on the Toyota in front, but Jimmie 10 laps ago said the car is building toward the loose side, and then about 2 laps ago he said this thing is definitely loose. You can definitely see when he gets in the corner that car goes into a nice drift.
Yeah, when you watch their hands, and when they turn left into the corner and you see their hand go way to the right like that, that's sideways, that's loose.
And I'm on that one car is coming. He's just little by little by little. He gains a little bit getting in the corner. You see the 31 give that 48 plenty of room right there coming off the corner. But that one car has just been making time, getting in the corner.
McMurray, 4 career wins, 3 of them on restrictor plates. He won here, of course, in February. Won last November at Talladega and just missed the restrictor plate hat trick when he finished second to Harvick in an incredible pass at the wire at Talladega a few months ago.
That's a good shot of Burton as he goes into turn 3. Just watch him work the wheel. This car doesn't look too bad.
No.
I mean, that's pretty decent.
Pretty decent. He's still in the gas. You know, you really didn't hear him kind of feather out of it or roll out of it. He stayed in it pretty good.
More on Jeff Burton with Marty.
Well, if there's a car handling well at this point, if that's possible at this point, guys, I would say it's a 31 car. He has driven his way back to the front here, and Todd Berrier told him when they were buried back in the field earlier when this restart happened, don't worry, the good handling cars will come to the front, and that's exactly what's happened for Jeff Burton. He said it's a little bit loose, but I would say one of the best handling cars here on the racetrack, and that shows on the lap times as well, guys.
Remember before the race tonight, Burton talked about how he was going to drive Daytona. A little bit out of the ordinary.
He compared it to Michigan at the time or someplace like that, and I looked at Larry when he said it, and I'm like, what's he talking about? But really, Wally hit on it a minute ago. These guys get all over each other down the straightaways just like they do at Michigan, and as soon as they get to the corner, boom, they all find a comfortable place and give each other plenty of room, and then they line back up down the straightaways.
Saw a perfect example of it there. Montoya running a completely different line than Keselowski and Kane. The 3 red cars lined up. That's 5th, 6th, and 7th. David Rudiman's been good tonight. He's in 10th and trying to maintain that position. Not going to do it. Kurt Busch rallying back to the front. Truex and Gordon there as well. Back behind them, a pack of drivers that you would anticipate at some point would push the button and get to the front. Larry McReynolds referred to him. Tony Stewart among those drivers running back outside the top 20. His teammate Ryan Newman was back there. Mark Martin, you see, is there.
You know,
there's Dale Jr.
And we heard a lot of drivers while we were waiting on the rain delay talk about, you know, the racetrack is just all worn out. It's got a lot of character. It's fun to race on. You got to be able to make your car work. You got to be able to drive the car. You got to be able to do this. You got to be able to do that, whatever it may be. But it's funny. Drivers kind of, and as we see these guys come down pit road, drivers kind of like this kind of racetrack, but at the same time, it's not what we're used to seeing at Daytona in the past. It's not the packs.
Green flag pit stops underway, and all the Penske teams coming down at lap 98. Phil?
Adam, Sam Hornish is in. They're going to raise the track bar 1 round, and they're going to put a little wedge in the left rear. He was loose in, loose off, and tight in the center. The 12 of Brad Keselowski is loose everywhere. The only place he can really get some grip is down on the bottom of the racetrack. When the outside line goes, he has to stay on the bottom. He can't go as well, so they're going to snug him up as well.
Ralph. Kurt Busch in the 2 car has been needing to get grip into the back of the track. It's where he's trying to get that rear end tucked down tight into the track, so they're going to lower that rear end a little bit, get him back out.
David Rudiman, the other car that pitted with those 3 Penske Dodges, and here comes Jeff Gordon, Ralph.
Well, he's got a bit of a vibration in the right rear, so they're going to work on that. They're going to bring him in here, put 4 tires, fill him up with fuel, and get Jeff Gordon back underway. Matt.
And Joey Logano's just been hanging on to that 20 machine. He said the track is losing grip in his car, freer and freer. He was running best on the bottom. Significant adjustments, Marty, for this 20 machine.
Elliott Sadler nearly slid through his pit stall, stopped at the very last second. The car still too loose, track bar and a wedge adjustment for Sadler, trying to tighten it up. He brushed the wall a little bit early and a slow stop this time for the 19 bunch.
Yeah, you saw the 19, the rear tire changer, get tangled up in the there was a tire laying there. It didn't go where they wanted it to go, and at the same time, he got tangled up a little bit in the airline itself. But that was a good salvage stop right there.
These are scheduled green flag pit stops we're seeing, but you will see them come somewhat staggered because there are a number of drivers on various strategies. Kyle Busch, the race leader. Right behind him, Jeff Burton, Sam Hornish Jr., Jimmie Johnson, Jamie McMurray. Here comes Denny Hamlin in for his service, Marty.
Yeah, he ran up front there for a while, Adam, but then had to fall back because he lost that high groove, as Kyle and Wally were talking about. Car still way too loose for Denny. It's an air pressure adjustment, and back behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He said the car way too loose on this run. They have not been able to hit it right on the 88, but the tires, every time they pull them off, look very good for Junior. A quick stop for the National Guard team.
We see Junior leaving the pits. We saw Harvick leaving the pits right in front of him. But at the same time, in that last shot, we saw the one car. He just absolutely gains getting in the corner.
Here's Montoya, Marty. For Montoya, Adam, still loose in the center. They haven't been able to fix that all day long. It'll be an air pressure adjustment for Juan, and also up on the track bar, a little too tight off the corner for Juan Pablo. And 4 tires here for the 42 team.
Top 5 cars on track. Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton, Jimmie Johnson, Jamie McMurray, and Kasey Kahne all last came to pit road at lap 67 under caution. So they've got a little longer run in them in regard to fuel before they would have to pit. Tony Stewart obviously has a lot of passion for racing. Looks like he's got that same passion for his partnership with Burger King.
To prove his love for flame broiling, Tony Stewart's going from behind the wheel to behind the register.
Welcome to Burger King. Can I take your order?
He's working at a real BK to sell the Smoky Cheddar Steakhouse XT.
Starting line, finish line.
Proper training to be doing this, and you guys are sending me up here to the Wolves.
Watch Tony clock in to sell the Smoky Cheddar Steakhouse XT July 19th.
Oh, he just turned it.
Kyle Busch into the wall will bring out our 4th caution of the night, and there was no question he got turned.
Wow. Yeah, there was definitely no question there.
You all right, Kyle?
He's got his neck down before the car's even stopped. He is hot.
Yeah. Kyle Busch leading this race. Caught a big break early after having to make an unscheduled pit stop.
And you know, that's kind of...
He's okay. He's getting out.
He's going to be looking for the guy who turned him, I believe, which is going to be the 42 car.
Juan Pablo Montoya was behind Kyle Busch, but was not on the lead lap. You remember, he had pitted under green, so...
But these guys have new tires, and these guys have... Some are on new, and some are on old. And as we see these guys... You see the 18 get the run, and they just hook bumpers right there. Wow.
How can you hook bumpers going down the back straightaway?
I'd like to see. I want to see this angle because you see Juan going over to him and Kyle coming up. You hook bumpers when both people are crossing each other. Yeah, you know what I mean? One's going left and one's going right. I'm not. You know that's a bad deal, but I think the 18 thought he was cleared, and I don't know what the 42 was thinking at that time, but it's going for the same place on the racetrack. But that's definitely it always amazes me at Daytona. We have so many crashes in the middle of the straightaways. And we really do. We have so many crashes in the middle of this super stretch over here. You see the 11 down below the line trying to get out of the way. and they just hook right there.
Happens virtually every time we come here. It's going to create for some interesting situations. As you're right
outside you.
Kyle here.
Too wide here, just two. Corner. Hanging on your corner. Oh, you just turned us. 42 just turned us.
And you hate to bring this up, okay, but it's kind of the same situation that the 18 did to the 11 the other day in practice. They just hooked bumpers.
You all right, Kyle?
They were crossing each other.
Kevin Harvick, one of those that had made a pit stop the first one lap down. He will receive the free pass as we get one more look at the accident that has brought out our 4th caution of the night.
You see Denny looking in the mirror. He's pulling way out of the way because he sees these guys 4 wide.
And I think the 18 thought he had a good enough run where he was going to clear the 42.
The race leader is Jeff Burton. Here come the leaders down pit road. Matt?
And the one car, Jimmy McMurray, pulls to a stop, handing a water bottle. Look for a possible chassis adjustment. At this point, air pressure for McMurray, he was tight. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, he said that something fell off the 31 car, or the 31 ran over something because it's grinding under his car. Chassis adjustment completed. Marty.
Indeed, Matt, the caution very fortunate for Jeff Burton, who said he felt like he had a right front tire going down or picked up a vibration there at the end of that run. We'll check those tires, but he said they were going to have to come. Phil?
As you see, Martin Truex Jr. leaving pit road, he said he lacked a little bit of grip middle to the high part of the racetrack. They took a little bit of air out of both rear tires for the Napa car.
Jeff Burton, the race leader when the caution came out. 4 tires for him, and the 31 crew helps him hold serve. He's the quickest leaving the pits. We'll reset the running order when we return. 105 of 160 laps complete. We're under caution at Daytona. 106 laps in to tonight's Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola. We're glad you're with us for NASCAR on TNT. Under caution for the 4th time tonight. Came out when race leader Kyle Busch hit the outside wall down the back straightaway. Juan Montoya involved in the incident. The leaders have been to pit road. Kevin Harvick just came in. He was the first car 1 lap down when the caution came out. He received the free pass, and a number of drivers in line for the wave around. Let's go down to Larry McReynolds.
Well, what you're looking at here, Elliott Sadler, Joey Logano, there's about a dozen of them that just had made green flag pit stops. They're going to do the wave around. There's no question. Now, when everything cycles through, the team that really came out smelling like a rose is going to be that 5 car, Mark Martin. They were on pit road making their green flag pit stop. When the caution came out, they were able to stay on the lead lap because the field slowed down enough. They're going to actually be the leader of this race.
So a big break for Mark Martin. And right behind him in line, Montoya, who was racing to stay on the lead lap with Kyle Busch when the leader got turned going down the back straightaway. Brad Keselowski, Sam Hornish Jr., Jeff Gordon, and Kurt Busch, the other drivers in that category. And then there's Jeff Burton. He was leading the race when the caution came out. He came down pit road. 8th is where he is scored right now. Plenty of storylines at Daytona. One of the headliners, Kyle Busch. He's with Ralph Sheheen.
Kyle, over the radio, Juan Pablo Montoya said you came up on him. What's your take on that incident?
I don't even know what to say. Too many thoughts running through my head, but yeah, I guess it's my fault.
Well, do you want to take a look at the replay? We got the replay right here. What do you see?
That replay doesn't show anything.
Okay, tell me how come. What really happened from your perspective then?
I'm going down a straightaway as straight as I can be, and yeah, I guess I turned right across the nose of the 42 for nothing to do. Yeah, I wanted to wreck myself.
Is this a case of 2 cars racing hard? Did you think you were clear and you just ran out of room?
No, actually, what happens is that nobody really understands in these things is the draft. When you're beside somebody like that, they can move you. They have control on your car. and he was too close to my side, and it started turning me sideways down the straightaway without even touching me, just like I did to Denny. You know, he started turning before I even got him, or the 6 in practice. But you know, when you have no grip on these tires, I was 2 laps away from pitting on old tires, and you know, the thing just started rear steering on me down the straightaway, and I had no control over it. I didn't turn across the nose of the 42. Why would I do that? Why would I wreck myself? Leading the race, the fastest car, gonna win the thing, you know, but there's still a long ways to go. Who would have known? But thought we had the best car out there by far. Drove from the back to the front, and can't believe the interstate batteries, all centers, Camrys, tore up again another week, but whatever.
3 consecutive weeks where Kyle Busch has struggled, and a pretty good explanation on what happened, really.
A really good explanation. And after he got past the attitude part of it, where he said, hey, you know, I didn't wreck myself, I didn't do this, he was being sarcastic, that's okay. So all you fans out there, if you don't know what the sarcasm font looks like, that's what it looks like right there. He's just being a smart butt. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. He just was leading the race, thought he could win. But what was interesting is, just like we said here in the booth, that's the same thing that happened to he and Denny the other day. He even said that's the same thing that happened when he was running with the 6 car. So there's some things going on out there that we don't see from up here. We can't comment on from up here. These guys feel the way the cars move around, and he just thought that at that point in time that did not need to happen. And Juan would probably say the same thing at this point.
Top 6 cars as we get set for the restart did not pit under caution. Martin, Montoya, Keselowski, Hornish Jr., Jeff Gordon, and Kurt Busch. And now they wave off the restart. Right behind them from 8th on back are the drivers that actually came in and got service at lap 105. Coming up, a look at Piranha 3D in theaters everywhere on August 20th. This summer, 3D shows its teeth.
For 2 million years, they have been trapped, surviving, evolving, waiting.
I'm thinking about closing the lake.
There's us and there's 20,000 kids. You do the math.
They hunt in packs. The first bite draws blood. The blood draws the pack.
They're coming!
Please help!
This summer,
I need the National Guard.
3D
I need all the forces in your power to deploy.
shows its teeth.
Oh my God.
Piranha 3D. This film is not yet rated.
So as Larry McReynolds pointed out moments ago, one of the big benefactors of the caution, Mark Martin, right place, right time. He was making his pit stop under green when the caution came out. Works out nicely because he is the race leader. And a number of other drivers using this caution to take advantage of the wave around. Among them, Elliott Sadler, Joey Logano, Paul Menard, Marcos Ambrose, David Rudiman, Ryan Newman, Dale Earnhardt Jr. When we get the green flag, there will be 34 cars on the lead lap. The first not on the lead lap, Denny Hamlin. And we will get the green as we put 110 laps on the board.
And Mark chose the outside for the restart. That's the first time we've seen that tonight.
4 cautions, but now we are back under green at Daytona. Wally pointed out, Mark Martin is the race leader, choosing the outside lane. These double file restarts. The leader does have his choice. Looked like Martin a little sideways there.
Yeah, he was getting hit pretty good there with, from Hornish in the 77 car.
3 Penske cars inside the top 6.
Yeah, those guys have been very impressive tonight.
Montoya's looked solid as well. This lap, though, going to be led by Mark Martin. He becomes the 14th different leader. He led 4 laps under caution prior to leading that green flag lap. Be interesting to see as this run continues what happens in that outside lane throughout the night, as you see Montoya and Keselowski work good on the low lane. But throughout the evening, that high lane, as the run has continued, has gotten really quick.
But it seems like the Dodges they're really strong down the straightaways. I mean, those are the cars that are doing all the pushing, it seems like.
Yeah,
if they can get all lined up as teammates, they may go somewhere.
Yeah, they are pushers. That is for sure. It's funny when you come to places like this. You get cars that can lead and you get cars that can push. And these Dodges have pushed people to the front. You know, the Penske group has pushed a lot of people to the front. They're going to get lined up right here in a minute where it's going to be 1277 and the 2. Mark, you know, started on the pole. Mark's dropping, but Mark's really not been a factor in the first part of this race. If we look at the top 10 or 15 cars, Mark's not been there.
More on Mark Martin with Marty.
Yeah, considering he spent the first third of his race trying to convince guys that he wasn't just hanging out in the back for no reason at all. Mark has really struggled with the handling of this race car all night long, extremely loose. He told Alan Gustafson before the restart, I'll do my best to keep it up here, but I'm not promising anything, guys.
I can tell you right now, he's looking for the back of that pack as fast as he can get there because he is out of control at this point.
Yeah, Mark is a phenomenal driver, no doubt about it, but you cannot drive that car. He sailed that thing off in turn 3 there and was sideways. I mean, that's as sideways as I've seen any car all night long.
It's like riding a bicycle on the freeway. Mark Martin pedaling in the wrong direction. That's opened the door for Jeff Gordon to go back to the point in that outside lane.
See Clint Boyer there. We haven't seen much of him tonight. He's been struggling with handling issues.
But you know, at the end of the 500, we go back as we got to this point in the 500, and you get down to it. The Childress cars were there: the 31, the 33, the 29. And Boyer was a factor in that race. Boyer felt like he had one of the fastest cars.
And look who's right behind him. Tony Stewart.
And you know, Tony and those guys.
Kenseth sideways off the corner. What a save.
That was not a wreck. I have no idea how that wasn't a wreck.
That is phenomenal. I don't think you can overemphasize how phenomenal that was, because when you saw that smoke, he was headed down the racetrack. We got to see that one again.
Yeah. As Kenseth was making that save, Jeff Burton able to get around Jeff Gordon for the race lead. Here it is again.
He just got loose and he hung on, and I'll tell you what, everybody behind him did a great job too.
Great job. You look at the 1 car and the 9 car, they all checked up. Everybody behind them checked up and gave him plenty of room to save it. I'm telling you, man, that's amazing.
Riding with Tony Stewart on the inside lane. There's
3 wide here to
Kenseth by the
bottom.
wall.
Now clear. Everything's good. Be safe.
This should be a good angle.
This is going to be a great angle.
Hello.
Tony Stewart right there is looking in the mirror, thinking there's a caution, and it just eliminated half the pack.
Let's get more with Matt.
Go inside.
And that save even impressed Jimmy McMurray. He came on the radio and said, man, that was unbelievable. And Spotter said 10-4.
Yeah, hey, I hope Matt, when Tony gives out the Stewies at the end of the year, his awards, that gets an award for the save. He must have a flat tire. He must have some issue here. You see Matt slowing down, getting behind the pack.
Yeah, that may have what put him up there to begin with a couple laps ago.
The 09 500 winner has certainly had his fair share of problems here tonight.
You saw him weaving a little bit as he came down the pits.
Ralph?
Yeah, he's been screaming about a flat tire. His brakes are glowing hot inside those tires, too. He's screaming about flat tires. Takes 4 new ones. He's underway.
He took 2, I think, on that one, didn't he?
He took 2. I'll tell you what, that right front, when they pulled that right front off, he obviously run down the back. Oh!
And here's a big one. David Ragan in the wall. McMurray and Truex get a piece of it.
Wow. Too bad a couple of real good race cars that were running up front up there most of the day are now done.
A break for Kenseth. They just made that pit stop under caution. We look at what happened once again.
Reagan gets just dead sideways loose, and I'm sure these guys just stack up behind him. Yeah, Jamie McMurray had nowhere to go, and neither did Truex. No. Those were two innocent victims of that crash. But again, at Daytona, when you get a guy that gets sideways or crashes in front of you, most of the time somebody else gets involved.
And I hate to say this, but that's almost exactly the accident that happened in the first practice session with Reagan. With David Reagan, he goes in the corner, and he gets almost the same spot. He turns down into the corner. He took out the 18 and a couple of cars in that one that were involved in that accident. But that was, I mean, he just turned in the corner. When he turned in, it just turned out from under him. These guys,
caution of the night.
These guys did a great job behind him. You see, as these guys, the 77 gets by, he's sideways right there, catches that.
Yeah, this is usually a 15-car wreck.
Yeah, these guys did a great job. But I think everybody's driving a lot farther ahead tonight than what they usually are, because they're expecting this. You see these guys down on the apron going back up and forth. Joey Logano, great job of avoiding that.
And behind these guys, Casey Kane trying to get slowed down to avoid the accident, got a piece of the wall.
And he couldn't go down. There was nowhere for Jamie to go. There was cars on the low side. So
yeah, you're clear low. They're wrecking. Stay low, stay low, stay low, stay low, stay low, stay low. Get low, 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 low.
Guess he wanted him to go low.
I think he wanted him to go low, but I mean, when the guy's screaming at you, you're doing all you can. You know what I mean?
Message was delivered. Not sure if it was received. So that means we will get pit stops under caution at lap 118. Let's go down to Matt Yoakum.
The same issue for Clint Bowyer from the drop of the green flag. The car just slipping and sliding all over the racetrack. Shane Wilson going with the same game plan from the drop of the green. 4 tires every stop. Another chassis adjustment again, Phil.
Matt, Brad Keselowski, top center of your screen. He's been so loose all of this race. They finally got it tight and actually said it was a little bit too tight. So they're going to take a rounder wedge out, Marty.
Your leader, Jeff Burton, top left of your screen. It's 4 tires. He said, I'd love a little rear grip without hurting the turning of the car. So a half pound on the right rear tire. And I think there were some 2-tire stops there as well, Adam.
One of the drivers taking 2 tires, Tony Stewart. He gains 8 spots and was the quickest off pit road. Kevin Harvick took 4. He's up 2 positions to second. Carl Edwards and Jeff Burton. Kurt Busch, the top 5 leaving pit road. We're under caution for the 5th time tonight at Daytona. Welcome back to our live coverage of the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola. Hope you're enjoying this 4th of July weekend. We're glad to have you here with us. Jamie McMurray, a part of our 5th caution of the night. Let's hear from him with Ralph.
Yeah, boy, his car is tore up pretty good. Jamie, what happened out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw the 6 car get into the wall, and it honestly felt like there might have been oil on the track or something right there. I don't really know. They said the 9 hit the wall behind me also, so it's unfortunate. It's a pretty big hit, and we had a really good car there. You know, it wasn't as good as I thought it was in practice, but on the longer run, it seemed like our car was good. So had a lot of people here from Bass Pro Shop, so we wanted to do well for them, but unfortunately, I don't think they'll get it fixed.
Can all this humidity make the track feel like there's oil out there?
That sounds good, but I don't think so, no.
All right, hey, you're reaching for something like that, you know? I mean, I know it's gotten pretty moist out there.
Yeah, that would be grasping, I think. The track is really slick, but it's not any different than it has been in the past. It just, you know, it's really fun. I hate that they have to replay this place. It's so much fun to slide around like that.
All right, Jamie McMurray, looks like he's done, guys.
One of the beneficiaries of our 5th caution of the night, Denny Hamlin, he received the free pass and will be back on the lead lap. Steve Park and David Strimmy were yet to pit, so they have been scored as the first 2 cars. Fans, everyone's favorite Cup Car Design Contest is back. The Toyota Racing Sponsifire 2 is underway with new features. To design a car and learn more about the contest, visit sponsifire.com.
Well, we wanted to do something for our fans.
I want Kyle Busch in a pink car in a pink suit.
Nice. And now, they get to be our sponsors.
Well, I'm a 7-tier Warlock, which at my age is extremely rare, 34. With this contest, I can put that out to the world. Up to now, it was just my van getting the word out. I'm choosing Joey Logano as my avatar. I feel he is a worthy ally.
This has always been artistic.
And she loves those cats.
I'm a little over it, to be honest with you.
Who doesn't like kittens, bunnies, and little baby seals?
I love you.
No, thank you, sweetheart.
No, write that on the spoiler.
Okay.
Design a new car, win new prizes at ToyotaRacing.com.
40 laps to go. We told you Steve Park and David Strimmy had enjoyed some time at the front of the field. They have made their pit stops, so that cycles Tony Stewart to the front of the field. And he took 2 tires on that cycle of stops to gain some track position. It did not work earlier in the evening when, ironically enough, Kevin Harvick did it as the race leader. We'll see how it pays off for Smoke here.
Can't imagine it will. I mean, it will for a little while.
Yeah, it will for a little while. That's exactly what. With 40 to go, I can't imagine it will. You know, with 10 to go, I'm all for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we saw Harvick and those guys make it last for a number of laps, but you know, the track position Tony had gained just on his own, just by driving around people, was pretty good.
32 cars on the lead lap. We will get the restart with 39 laps to go. Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick on the front row. Carl Edwards, Jeff Burton, Kurt Busch in the top 5. Bowyer, Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, Montoya in the top 10 as well. We are back green at Daytona. As they start to gain speed here at Daytona, we pass along that David Reagan, who was involved in our 5th caution of the night, has been released from the infield care center.
That's such a cool shot right there.
It is.
When they're running 2x2 at 180 miles an hour, that's just a cool shot.
Oh, 2 pushing the line there.
Yeah, if you
Boy, he made it work.
Yeah.
If you go below that line and advance your position, it is a penalty unless you give it back. He flirted with it, but I think he was in bounds.
I think Carl wished he wouldn't have let him get down there, because Carl's going to lose a lot of spots here in that 99 car.
Tony Stewart gets those 2 tires, gains the track position, and now he leads with help from Jeff Burton. And as we watch this, we hear from Martin Truex Jr., involved in an accident a moment ago.
Yeah, Adam, he's down here. Guys are working on his car. All right, Martin, what's your take on what happened out there?
I'm not real sure. It was it all happened in front of me, so, you know, when I got there, all I seen was the 6 up there sideways and coming down the track and all checked out. You going down into 3, you committed wide open. You can't, you just can't slow down. So we had a good car. Our Napa Toyota was running good. We got, when Kyle got wrecked there on the backstretch, we hit a piece of debris and had to pit and got us in the rear. And that's, you know, if it wasn't for that, we probably had never even been in the wreck. We'd have been ahead of it. But it's just the way it's been going for us lately. We've had fast cars and just can't seem to get to the end. Can't seem to catch any breaks. And it's just a shame for all these guys working so hard. This car was really, really good. And we were just really just biding our time all night and running around the top 10, just cruising. So we were going to the front right there when it all happened, but it's all for naught now.
Talked about the Penske cars and their success tonight. 3 of the top 4 out of the RCR camp, including Jeff Burton, who was leading, until Tony Stewart got some help from Bowyer on the outside. Lane management has been key at the front of the pack tonight.
Yeah, but it's really hard to know where to go. You know, Burton was on the outside, cut across the tail of the 14 and took the inside line, and I really thought that Harvick, and Harvick is pushing him now, that Harvick would push him away, but the next thing you know, Bowyer pushes the 14 back.
But I think you got to start getting into this. 36 to go, you got to start looking for your teammates and your friends. You've got to start positioning yourself right now for the end of the race.
Let's hear what they're saying down in Tony Stewart's pit. Phil?
Guys, we documented that Tony Stewart only took 2 tires on that pit stop. Darian Grubb-Crucci said we only had 7 laps on the left side tire, so thought it was a good gamble to get some track position earlier before that caution. Tony said, I'm really driving this thing for all it's worth, so Darian decided to do a little strategy to get him up front.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's a good point, Phil. We didn't realize that, so that does change things a little bit.
Yeah, that changes everything you and I were talking about.
Right.
That's that's not a two-tire stop. You know what I mean? If you've only got 7 laps on those tires, that makes a lot of sense.
You're watching the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola on TNT. Goodyear has special tires in tonight's race to launch their Support Our Troops initiative. Here are Sam Hornish Jr. and Kurt Busch.
We all know that NASCAR trusts Goodyear, and tonight every car is racing on Goodyear's special Support Our Troops tires.
It's exciting to see a company like Goodyear use their sponsorship and their great product to get fans excited about helping out.
Go to Goodyear.com to make a donation or bid to get your hands on one of the awesome Support Our Troops tires used in tonight's race.
Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
And a quiet night for Clint Bowyer. He's the 3rd car in line on the outside right now, chasing down a perhaps run at the title in September. He's in the thick of things as far as the chase is concerned. How's he feel about things, Matt?
The game plan between he and his teammate Jeff Burton, Adam, before the restart was to work together up top and then get to the bottom as quickly as they could. But Mike Dillon couldn't get him down there quick enough. The hole closed up, so he's stuck on the outside, still trying to work his way to the bottom.
Yeah, there are a number of drivers in the top 10 that have had some kind of problem, either tonight or throughout the weekend. And here they are as we go down the stretch, 33 to go, and they're players. I mean, Jeff Burton slid through his pit earlier. Tony Stewart, of course, in a backup car, started at the back of the field. Kurt Busch speeding on pit road. I guess the cream does, in fact, rise to the top at a place like this.
Seen a lot more aggressive driving right here. Wow, 4 abreast.
4 wide. They make it work. Kurt Busch getting aggressive.
Wow. The 33 to go, that is aggressive. Oh.
Yeah, the 2 cars hanging on. But these guys are, you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot more mirror driving right now and defensive driving than we've seen all night. Getting down to the end, and everybody's looking at trying to stay in that top group.
Tony Stewart's got to be feeling good as the race leader because they're 3 wide behind him.
Well, we haven't seen this all night.
To avoid the mess.
I can't imagine they'll stay 3 wide too long.
Harvick slides to the outside lane. He's going to follow his teammate Clint Bowyer. Let's get more with the point leader. Marty?
Yeah, Adam, this is the same Kevin Harvick that took the lucky dog a while ago. They drove from that up to 4th, made it from 4th to 2nd on the last stop. The car, terrific. Kevin actually told his spotter a moment ago, I actually don't want to be on the top, but I'll go help Bowyer. I would rather be on the bottom. If he can go to the bottom, that would help me out a bunch.
I'm going to say this. There were comments made between these guys. Bowyer felt like that he needed to help Harvick in the 500, and it cost him the 500. So I think when it gets down to time here, these guys may be dancing with each other right now, and they may get you to that last lap, but they're not going to get you to the checkered flag.
Yeah, check the shot out of Tony Stewart. You'll see him looking over. He's looking at the mirror a lot. He's got his left hand blocking right there. But these guys are checking the mirror out a lot more than they have all day. And boy, this is how much you wrestle these cars at Daytona. Now this track will be a lot different after they pave it, and they resurface it. But that's what it's like driving here.
Yeah, that's a good shot right there, man, because you see the intensity in his eyes as he's looking out.
Hear about these NFL players that crave the hot tub day after a game? Some of these drivers may be relaxing tomorrow. Man,
that's a left.
Yeah, right. And wait a minute, that's a good handling car.
Yeah, he's running up front. Think about the guy that's running in the back.
Clint Bowyer led that last lap. The 18th different driver to lead here tonight. Look at that. 3 of those 4 cars in the outside lane owned by Richard Childress. He's had a lot of success at this racetrack over the years. Reed Sorensen giving that 83 car as good a run as we've seen in quite some time.
Wow.
He's behind Tony Stewart in the bottom lane.
That 2 car got a run through the trial over there and just with a little bit of help from that 29 and just blasted around the 33.
Kevin Harvick pushing Kurt Busch. And look at him pull away as he gets out front.
Yeah, I think the spoiler really creates that draft sensation where you're able to really draft up on somebody. You know, we saw it at Talladega, the way the 29 drafted up on the 1 and then could use the slingshot around him. We're seeing a lot more of that right now with these guys. They'll draft up on those guys. The spoiler creates just enough of a pocket of air where it pulls you up to the car in front of it and you can draft around.
How does Kurt Busch feel with 29 laps to go, Ralph?
Well, the thing about Kurt Busch is trying to decide when you're going to be aggressive. He talked earlier this week about days when he's patient on the super speedways, he tends to do better. When he gets aggressive, he says he tends to lose spaces at the end of the race. The point is, at some time, you're going to have to get aggressive if you're going to want to win this race. So Kyle and Wally, how do you decide when to be aggressive?
Well, you know, Ralph, and he talked, we visited with Kurt earlier this week, and he talked about that. And he said it again tonight when we talked to him. He needs to stop being so nice. He feels like he's being too nice, especially at the end of these races. So he's going to have to be aggressive. I mean, if he's in a position where he could win this thing in the last couple of laps, it's got to be a take-no-prisoners deal.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Going 3 wide down into turn 3 a minute ago and hammering it through turns 3 and 4, that was an aggressive move. And I think, you know, and that's almost one of those things where it builds confidence in him because he runs through that corner and he says, okay, I can make it here. I can make this thing stick. So he'll be a little bit more confident to try that and be a little bit more aggressive if he has to use that move.
Well, that 20 car back there, I've seen it twice. He is just sideways on the exit of each corner.
It's Joey Logano leading that second pack in that bright orange Home Depot Toyota. You saw Jeff Burton drive around Kevin Harvick, his teammate returning the favor. The point leader to the inside as they come off turn 4. Burton, though, with a bit of an advantage through the tri-oval. Jeff Burton led that lap, the 42nd lead change of the night. What about the 31, Marty?
Adam, they've had a terrific second half of this race. After he slid through the pit stall earlier on, they've made one adjustment to this 31 car. That was half a pound out of the right rear tire because Burton said, I'm a little bit too loose. Terrific run for him, but lately he told me we haven't had any luck. He said, we've been here in the top 5 late in races. We've had a chance to win races, but something has always kept us from winning a race lately. Someday it's going to happen, maybe even tonight at Daytona, guys.
I tell you what, guys, the one thing that I'm looking, they all pitted on lap 118. That's 42 laps to go. Now, it would be a far-out shot that we will go caution-free to the end of this thing, but that puts all of these guys just right on the outside of that window of being able to make it. Here's what I also see when I look at our top 10 guys, with the exception of Kurt Busch in the 2, Kevin Harvick in the 29, almost everybody up there is looking for either their first career win or their first win of 2010.
Can you say hungry? The Coke Zero Fan 400 happening right now online.
Trouble.
And there it is. David Strimmy goes around.
You okay there, David?
6th caution flag of the night.
You're going to lose either spot. I don't know. Something happened there. That's pretty big.
That's Robert Richardson Jr. sliding through the grass.
And everything Larry just talked about just went out the window.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the way it goes.
1,000.
And that's the way it goes. And that's what happens with these things. You know, you try to figure and you try to calculate, and this is already in progress. You see, he's already he's already loose. He gets down on the apron, goes back up the racetrack from just, and that's just correcting. You're trying to catch the car at that point in time. These guys did a really good job of avoiding him right here.
Oh, somebody just got into him right there.
71 of Mike Bliss able to get through unscathed, but Robert Richardson Jr. not so lucky.
No.
Robert just got caught in the right rear as Strimmy came back down the racetrack.
Good to see David Strimmy outside the race car.
And you heard Strimmy say, I don't know what. You know, he started to explain it, and then he's like, I don't know what.
And after he's looking around, he's trying to figure out what, you know, he said, man, did a tire go down? Did a wheel come off or what?
Yeah, but let's be honest. Kyle Busch came in and said he thought he had a loose wheel. You saw Matt Kenseth, one of the best drivers out here, come in, think he had a flat right rear. So these guys, this racetrack's just so slick and so rough right now. It's giving these guys a feeling sometimes that they've got an issue.
Yeah. Do we have a lucky dog on this one?
Kevin Conway.
Conway.
Wow.
Should put 31 cars on the lead lap. And these pit stops will come with just over 20 laps to go. Roush Shaheen.
Waiting for Kurt Busch. He just told his crew chief, Steve Addington, over the radio, I want this trophy. Steve said, me too. Here they come. 4 tires. They're going to get him back out. He's ready to go, Phil.
And Horner said he wanted a little bit of wedge in the left rear. Just a little bit too free right now. 4 tires. Marty.
Jeff Burton, your leader, top left of your screen, said, I have no idea what you guys did on that last stop, but it was perfect. Do nothing to it on this stop. 4 tires, fuel, that's it for Jeff Burton, Matt.
And the same for his teammate Clint Bowyer in the 33, Marty, sticking with their game plan. 4 tires all night long.
Kurt Busch, the first off pit road.
By a long way.
And he took 4 tires. That is impressive. And some contact. Mark Martin, Elliott Sadler.
And don't forget, he got hammered for speeding once.
Yeah. Kevin Harvick up 3 positions to second. Jeff Burton leading when the caution came out, lost 5 spots on pit road. Back to Daytona in a moment. Our 6th caution of the night here at Daytona. David Strimmy spinning through turns 3 and 4. Robert Richardson Jr. got a piece of the action. And as we clean up that, a number of drivers have been on pit road. In fact, all the lead lap cars have been there, and it should set up an entertaining run to the finish with just over 20 laps remaining here at Daytona. After inventing a drink with real Coke taste and 0 calories, Coke Zero now gives NASCAR fans an exclusive peek at Clint Bowyer's pit stop.
Hey, it's Clint Bowyer. While this race is happening, there's another race I'd like to win happening right now online. Go to CokeZero.com and vote for me in the Coke Zero Fan 400. If you do and I win, we'll all get to do a victory chug with free Coke Zeros. So go to CokeZero.com and vote for me.
Still anybody's game at Daytona. 22 laps to go. There will be 21 when they come across the start-finish line. 31 cars on the lead lap. Let's hear from Marty on Kevin Harvick, who's currently second.
Yeah, they gained him spots again, this time on pit road, Adam, but he also wanted to deliver a message to his teammate, Clint Bowyer, for what they should do after the restart.
Billy, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but the 2 is going to pick the bottom here to have the 77 behind him. You got to tell the 33 to have a little bit of finesse. It's not about ramming the car. We got to time it right so that when we come off a 2, you know, it's not just ramming. You got to ease up into it and get that gradual push. It's not about one slam.
10-4. And the strategy starting early before this final, what could be the final restart of the night. Very interesting. The teammates certainly want to work together. That doesn't always work out, does it, Kyle and Wally?
Well, what he's wanting to do is he's instead of that one shot, you know, what he's looking to do is to have his teammate get on his bumper and push him all the way down the straightaway. That's faster than getting that one pop, you know, coming off the corner.
Yeah, we've seen these guys give somebody that one big shove, and it pushes that car away, but then everybody runs him back down and goes by him on both sides. He wants to really hook up in a train and push both cars to the front and stay there because he feels like they can stay there if they go together.
Kurt Busch, the race leader. He was a big gainer on pit road moments ago when he came in at lap 137. Kevin Harvick started this race on the pole as the point leader after qualifying was rained out here yesterday, and using that #1 pit stall selection to his advantage, he picked up some spots in that exchange a moment ago as well. Sam Hornish Jr. has been strong throughout the night. He will restart third. Clint Bowyer in the top 5, as well as Jeff Gordon. And this 6th caution of the night brought out when David Stremme and Robert Richardson Jr. were involved in an accident heading to turn 4. David Stremme, we showed you out of his car, was obviously okay, and Robert Richardson Jr., we just got a report, has also been released from the infield care center. How about that? 43 lead changes tonight. And David Stremme has also left the infield care center and is doing fine. How about that 77 car tonight, Phil? Hornish looking good.
Adam, he was just reminded by a spotter, said, you know who you have in front of you. Let's be a good teammate now. Let's work together. We know the RCR cars are going to line up on the outside, so let's work together out here.
You got those 3 RCR cars on the outside, as Phil pointed out.
Yeah, you got the Hendrick cars right there down on the bottom as well.
Right behind the Penske guys. We'll see who is team loyal on this restart.
But that's what I'm saying. And we've been saying it all along about dancing partners and everything else. This is where you've got to line up with your guys, and you've got to stay with it. Even if it looks like the other line may be better right now, you've got to hang with your teammates.
The lights have gone out on the pace car. The restart will come with 19 laps remaining in the Coke Zero 400. Talked in the opening laps after a 90-minute rain delay about the anxiety level for these drivers.
Now
any change of pace right now with 20 to go?
It's definitely up right now because you are getting down, and you're not sure what everybody else is going to do. And you know, it's going to get crazy because, like I said, everybody starts mirror driving worse now than you've seen the whole race.
And the thing is, we've gone 19, 20 laps to go. These guys all have good tires now.
Yep.
Okay, they're not going to get to that stage in this run where they're out of control the last 10 or 12 laps of the run.
And they're all on a level playing field, something we haven't always seen throughout the night. We're about to find out what's around the next corner in this race at Daytona. Green flag back in the air. 19 laps remain.
I think Kevin got what he wanted.
Yeah.
They just weren't as strong as those 2 bottom cars. Because Bowyer looked like he was right on his bumper and just laid on him. Just really knocked him up there. Just kind of tried to push him.
Making it work now.
Here they are.
Well, we got problems in the back of the pack. Elliott Sadler, and it looked like Matt Kenseth. Perhaps, and there's Mark Martin on the inside of the track.
Yeah, and they run into somebody or something's thrown up.
See the caution out for the 7th time.
Both ends of that thing.
Something we should point out that Tony Stewart, who's been a yo-yo tonight, started at the back of the field, worked his way up, led some laps. He's another driver now at the tail end of the pack, being scored 23rd. Here's a replay of what happened. You ride with Tony Stewart.
Wow.
You know, and the one thing about that could have been a lot worse, but they really weren't up to speed completely.
No, Matt and the I don't know if Matt and the 5 got together or the 5 turned left, because Matt goes up. You can see the right rear corner where he slammed the wall, and the 5 comes down on the bottom, and everybody kind of drives between them. There's the 18 all knocked in. Maybe the 5 got into him.
And the 16, Greg Biffle, looked like he might have also, trying to avoid the accident, got a piece of the wall.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It was already in progress, and it's hard to, when you look at the damage on 3 different cars and you try to put them together like a puzzle, it's really hard to tell where it started or how it ended up.
Now let's look back at what's happened tonight down to Lindsay Czarniak.
Thanks, Adam. Well, it's well documented that this thing was a long time coming. An hour-and-a-half rain delay at the start of this race. And after that rain delay, the drivers excited to take to the track. We got the green flag 9:24 p.m. Larry Mack. Drivers happy about that?
Yeah, you know, I think there was a lot of anticipation getting this green flag, but I think the weather showed that we were going to be okay. Now, this was Kyle Busch, had to make a pit stop on lap 28 because he thought he had a loose wheel.
Yeah, lap 47, Jimmie Johnson forced to pit road with the right rear tire problem. Then, lap 58, we saw J.J. Yeley. He blew a tire. That brought out the second caution of the day. Larry?
This was right after the restart there. You see A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car gets together with that 18 car. This brings out the third caution on lap 66.
Lap 85, we would have a lead change on the track. Kyle Busch getting out in front of the 77 car of Sam Hornish Jr. Kyle Busch, at this point, thought his car was really, really good. Lap 104, Kyle Busch, not too happy. Bumped by Juan Pablo Montoya. Kyle goes into the wall. His night is ended. He was mad, Larry Mack.
Yeah, you can see him walking away from the car. He felt like he had a... This race looked like to me he was going up and the 42 was going down.
How about a little bump drafting for you? All night long we've seen some great bump drafting. Go ahead.
Yeah, the good news is they've been doing it on the straight corner.
Exactly. Lap 117, David Ragan gets himself loose. Take a look at this. David Ragan in that 6 car hits the wall. Martin Truex Jr., Jamie McMurray also get taken out as well. A bunch of guys with cars that they felt were pretty good.
Yeah, this was a caution just a little bit ago. David Stremme gets real loose in that 26 car, and along comes Robert Richardson Jr. in the 37 car. That's a backup car from a practice crash. This brought out the next caution.
So as we stand right now under our 7th caution of the day, Kevin Harvick remains the leader. It's teammate Clint Bowyer right behind him. We just heard them chatting about how they could do some damage after they get out of this caution.
Well, it's easy to work together as teammates with 17 to go, but trust me, when we get to about 10 to go or less, your teammate is the person that can help you, not necessarily somebody that's actually on your race team.
You know somebody that knows that, Larry Mack? Kurt Busch. Remember, he pushed a teammate to victory here once.
Well, again, it's easy to make a plan right now, but Lindsay, when they start getting 3 and 4 wide, as we saw them earlier in the race, your friend is the person that can help you.
You know, I'm looking down that list. Jeff Gordon is somebody that I say to watch out for, too.
Well, and don't forget his teammate, Jimmie Johnson, sitting back there in the 9th position right now. And we've seen how strong the Penske Dodges has been right now. Kurt Busch is 3rd, Sam Hornish Jr. is 5th, and Brad Keselowski is just outside the top 10 and 11th.
Man, but we still got some laps to go here at Daytona. Guys, why don't you take it?
Kevin Harvick, the race leader, he chooses the outside lane. And I got to believe it's because of who's going to be behind him.
That's exactly. But this is where the double file restarts change your strategy. You listen to what Larry and Lindsay say. You know, a minute ago, it's 3 Childress cars in the outline. Now they're running 1st and 2nd and 4th. Now one of them gets shuffled out, and it's Bowyer that gets shuffled to the inside. And not that he gets shuffled out, he just gets moved to another place on the racetrack. And this is where the double file restart on the green-white checkered every single time changes your dance partner.
So the man starting behind Clint Bowyer will be Kurt Busch. He's been strong tonight as well, Ralph.
He has, and here's some pretty interesting stuff he was just talking about on the radio about Sam Hornish behind him to his spotter, Chris Osborne. He said, you know, when the tires are brand new, tell Sam he can get right up there and he can push me all the way through 1 and 2 when the tires are new. He said I needed to drag the brake a little bit more. That would have made it easier for Sam to do that. However, he told Chris, now that we've had a heat cycle on this, it's a little bit tougher to do that, Matt.
And the 33 Clint Bowyer told his spotter, Mike Dillon, my worst habit when I'm out front is I get too big of a gap between myself and the car behind. Make sure I drag the brake to close that gap so he can't get a run on me.
Could it be a night for an underdog? As we get set for the restart, we'll be at 15 to go, and Sam Hornish Jr.
got to give a
and
call
Reed
out
Sorensen
to Reed Sorensen
in row
in the
3.
83 car.
It's incredible.
The Red Bull cars have needed something to happen this year. This is so far this is a great run for them.
And it wasn't long ago we were talking about Casey Kane avoiding an accident, getting into the wall. He will restart 8th. Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer on the front row. Green with 15 laps remaining in the Coke Zero 400.
Boyer to the top. So now you got 3 Childress cars, nose to tail.
And that inside lane made up of the Penske Dodges. In fact, 3 of the 4 are there. 3 of those 4 cars are Penske cars, rather. Kurt Busch, Sam Hornish Jr., and the man in the middle, Jeff Gordon, separating Greg Keselowski from his teammates. David Rudem, another driver in the top 10 that we should give a call to.
I'm going to tell you, 14 to go. It's impressive to see the Childress cars just run like this. You saw it. See Burton pull out, though. You know, these guys down there running 3, first, second, third, and they pull out on each other.
Harvick looked like he wanted to slide down in line behind Burton. Thought better of it. Stays with Boyer, his other teammate. And they lead in the high groove.
I think Burton's
for
decided.
now.
I think Burton's decided he wants to win the race.
You know what I mean? He's not playing by the team rules any longer.
I'm telling you, you know, because, I mean, there you were 3 in line, everybody behind you that way, and he pulls out. But he pulls out because he feels like that's the only way he's going to get to the front. He's got to pass his teammates.
What do you think, Larry?
Hey, guys, I worked for Richard Childress for 4 years. He had 2 simple rules. You don't help someone beat your teammate, and for Pete's sake, don't wreck your teammate.
I got to believe RC's a nervous wreck right now. His car is running good, but very close together on the track.
Well, they can block the track right now if they wanted to.
Oh,
I'm telling you. Oh, hang on, Jeff Burton.
Burton up into Hornish.
He's going to come back up
and now the big one.
There it is.
7, 8, 9 cars involved, many which were running inside the top 10.
That's the whole field, isn't it?
That's the whole field.
And look at that. Nowhere to go.
And these guys were trying to avoid the 2 coming back up on the racetrack, and the first group that saw them check up, and everybody runs in behind them. That is massive right there. That's incredible. I don't think I've seen a wreck like that.
I don't know. That's a long time since I've seen that many cars in a wreck.
There was a Busch race or a nationwide race down here in turns 3 and 4, and they piled up about 30 of them down there one time. These cars, that was wicked.
Mark Martin got a piece of the action. You've seen Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Saw Reed Sorensen driving through.
Wow.
And like Kyle said, watch the 2 car. Everybody's expecting the 2 car to come back up the racetrack because that's what happens. When you get in the grass, you're coming back. He just goes diving down here after he gets clobbered by the 31. On the 83, okay, this started already behind, but the 83 got turned.
But they see that going on in front of them, and they're all jockeying for position to avoid that. And it's that chain reaction accident. You know what I mean? Look at the cars, man.
There's a lot of cars in that accident.
Menard did a great job. He got up on the high side and kind of got around them. But these guys,
all these cars have damage here.
You see the first group when you. Don't pay attention to what the 2 cars doing. Watch everybody behind them because this is where the wreck.
Well, see what happened. The 83 checked up, the 12 checked up, and it looked like Montoya got into the back of somebody. And but there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just like you said, it's a chain reaction. A 5 car came in on fire.
That was
see Mark climbing out right there.
You see some of his crew members running over to help him. The Lowe's guys come over and get him out. That's pretty cool right there, man. Mark was already piling out. You can see he's unhooked.
And the safety crews were actually coming from the garage area to help extinguish the fire. It's been a rough night for Mark Martin. So one more time we look at the accident It happened with 12 to go.
Yeah, the 12 and the it looked like I don't know how they got together, but the 83 and the 12 were at the front of that pack. And look at these guys. They're packed in there. Montoya's headed backwards, and you can't see. I mean, they kind of slide out of the way, but they're 4 deep and packed on top of each other, and they're still coming in behind them. You see the 12, you see the 42, you see these guys.
And there's just nowhere to go. I mean, there's no openings on the racetrack whatsoever.
Nowhere to go. And you can't imagine sitting at home driving into that at 170 or 80 miles an hour, getting up to speed, but driving into that and not being able to know left or right. And the spotters are way over here. They can't see. They can't tell you where to go either.
This is Jeff Burton.
Still outside. 2 pushing you now. Middle of 3. 3. Clear low. Got another wreck. You're clear. Watch him.
Gordon gets through that?
Come on.
You know who else drove through the outside, and I'm not sure he got any of it? Dale Earnhardt Jr.
He's going to push 31. Inside. You're clear. You're about wrecked 31. Drove underneath. Big wreck behind you.
Checking out.
Wow. Montoya, one of the drivers involved in the accident, under the red flag with 12 laps to go.
We can, you see they've stopped on the backstretch here.
Let's hear from Montoya, Marty.
And, boy, they were in position to maybe do some good things there. That was crazy, wasn't it? What happened from your vantage point?
They just started piling up in front of me. I tried to go let down, and I just got in with the right front corner, and there's nothing you can do. It's just one of those deals. You know, again, this RS Chevy has been off-season. It's been amazing. You know, the team have done a really good job, and just that's the story of our year.
They were in a good position there to maybe make a run to the front. Had a good car, but obviously sitting here on pit road now under the red flag with a whole lot of damage, Adam.
There you saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the inside sneak through. Maybe got a little bit of damage. And now we ride with Joey Logano. Now Ryan Newman riding on top of his hood there.
Well, you can just hear that. You know, it's just dragging parts and pieces.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's just terrible, man. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Well, Larry and Lindsay, now we've got something to talk about, huh?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I mean, Larry, we're sitting here watching replays of this wreck, and bottom line, there's nothing, as Juan Pablo said, that you could do to avoid getting that pileup.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing right here, Lindsay, and I've been doing a little calculating, and we knew this was going to be a wild card in this race to the chase. I'm looking right now, about half of our top 12, they've been involved in wrecks tonight, including this big one, and a lot of those guys outside the top 12, like Joey Logano, like McMurray, like Truex, a lot of those guys, they were either involved in that wreck or wreck earlier. So this is really going to shake these points up with 8 races to go.
Well, it is, and as you had said before, it looked like there were so many guys that had opportunities possibly to get a win that had not won before here at Daytona.
Well, and I saw a lot of guys up there like Reed Sorensen still looking for their very first Sprint Cup Series win, period. So, yeah, there was a lot of things going on in the top 10 or 12, but a lot of it just got wiped out.
One of the drivers that was involved in that big wreck was Ryan Newman, who's standing by now with Ralph Shaheen.
Yeah, we're walking with Ryan. Ryan, can you tell us what happened from your vantage point?
I saw the 12 and the 83 sideways in front of me, and I couldn't tell you what else happened. I just know I got pile drive. I saw the 48 sideways and myself sideways and up on 2 wheels. Just right place, wrong time like usual for me.
Tough night.
Ralph Shaheen there with Ryan Newman. Obviously, Ryan kind enough to stop and talk, but a lot of these guys just very, very frustrated right now. I mean, take a look at how many were involved.
Side 24.
Yeah, this is looking out the back of Ryan Newman's car back at Joey Logano, and you see people started slowing down, but this is a product right after a restart, Lindsay, of cars running 3 wide down the back straightaway. Cars in front of them check up, the guys behind them, and they just start stacking up from there, and that's what causes the big one.
At that point, as a spotter, what's going through your mind?
You know what? A spotter's almost helpless. You know, you can hear all these spotters saying, slow down, slow down, slow down, go high, go low, but you know what? It's like there's 30 cars there running in a big pack. The driver actually has a much better view than the spotter has.
And a lot of onus on them for sure. So right now, as we look at where these guys are going to fall back, we see Bowyer still apparently in the lead.
Well, yeah, I still like those Richard Childress cars up there. You know, you've got, of course, Jeff Burton that was just involved in that accident. Actually, the start of that accident, but Clint Bowyer looks awfully good. And remember, Bowyer was one of those guys I was talking about early in the race that kind of stayed just outside the top 20. I think he wanted to let the waters kind of calm out. We always know the waters get uncalm at the end of the race, but there he is. Seems like he's got one of the stronger race cars.
And it turns out to be that, like you said, him and his Childress teammate right behind him, Kevin Harvick, we heard them talking about communication and how to get involved with drafting so that it could help them in the future in this race as we get back.
And I'm sure as we're sitting under this red flag, Clint Bowyer and Kevin Harvick are talking to each other right now on those radios.
Yes, most likely. Guys?
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Larry. Larry talked about the implication in regard to points. Clint Bowyer, the big gainer, as they sit right now. He has moved up 4 positions to 11th. He is now inside the chase. That's a big break for him. And we also got a report that Tony Stewart was released from the Infield Care Center. And now you can see on a hot night in July, the driver's getting a little refreshment. Here's a look at the Mark Martin situation coming down pit road.
And you know, when they had the wreck, Mark had spun and was down on the apron, and we had a shot earlier where he was trying to get it fired up and get going. He drove the thing, and about the time he got to pit road, this thing flamed up. It was not on fire when he left the accident scene, but as he drove around here, the sparks coming up, the oil, the stuff, it just up under the car, and you can see it, man. That's a thick smoke. That's a choking smoke right there. When you're in a car and a car catches on fire, and it's hard to describe, there's some smoke you can just, it seems okay to you. I don't know how to describe that to anybody out there. But there's some of that electrical stuff and some of the oil that starts to burn, and it chokes you, man. I mean, it is hard to breathe in that thing.
Now gotten reports Regan Smith and Jimmy Johnson has walked from the Infield Care Center, and now we hear from Mark Martin with Ralph Shaheen.
Mark, an amazing end to your night there. Tell me about the fire in the car. You okay?
Yeah, fire was outside. It wasn't inside, so no big deal. It's a disappointment to be in a wreck as hard as we fought and as hard as we worked. My guys did an awesome job of battling, through things, and it's just, I wish we hadn't been in that wreck. I wish we could have. There was no way. I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't get down. My spotter said get down. Well, I was going too fast. There wasn't no getting down.
All right, Mark, we're glad to see you're okay. I know I'm running.
That was good, and that was good information. Just like, Larry said it, we said it up here. Spotter's not going to help you right there. You know what I mean? A spotter can't help you when there's that much smoke. And you got to figure, the spotters are just above us in the booth right here. As you see the wreck start to happen, spotters are just above us in the booth. That's a half a mile over the turn 3. And you're trying to depend on the spotter. The 2 and the 31 gets together. The 31 slams into the 77, which does a great job, but it sends the 2 right back down across the racetrack. I still see Jimmy Johnson coming straight up the racetrack up.
Jimmy Johnson, one of the drivers involved, Ralph.
Yeah, Jimmy was caught up in it as well. All right, pal, your thoughts on what happened out there?
You really can't see much from the cars. I saw the 2 down on the flat, and then I was hit from behind, and everybody's trying to slow down and just kind of caught up in things. But we came close. I mean, with 380-something miles of not having a big one, and then we always seem to have that big one at the end.
Was this just tight racing, or was this somebody being a little bit aggressive, maybe a little bit too early?
I couldn't really tell from where I'm at. I would just be speculating, but the energy inside the draft changes as the laps wind down, and we all know that every move you make could be worth 5 or 10 points on the track and a position. So you can sense it. We knew it was coming. You could feel it building, and sure enough, it happened.
It'll be very interesting to see when the cars begin to roll, Wally, how much damage for Jeff Burton, who was very strong and racing for the lead and was a part of the start of this accident, and Kurt Busch, how much damage they received, because it's obvious they're big-time players, but...
Well, you got to throw Jeff Gordon in there and even Earnhardt, because when you drive those race cars off the bank onto the apron, You know, it doesn't take much to mess up the bodywork on these cars, and those guys did a great job staying out of the wreck. I just don't know how hard they hit the apron coming off the banking.
A number of different angles from our crews here tonight. This one on board with Kevin Harvick.
Who's going to push 31? Inside. You're clear. Clear. You're about wrecked 31. You're underneath. Big wreck behind you. Big wreck behind you. Back out. There's about half the field right there. 77 smoking. It got the...
That's a good call. That's about half the field. That's about 2/3 of the field. And wait a minute. It's 12:10, so that's the official first fireworks of the 4th of July right here for us.
And I've got a feeling, with 12 laps to go, there may be more in the offing.
Man. There may be more.
So there are the cars sitting on the track, some of which were involved in what was our 8th caution of the night and now is turned into a red flag, and some who are anxious to get going again. Jeff Burton had a little contact. How concerned are they, Marty?
Well, if this means anything, Jeff came on the radio, said, guys, we can still win this race. Do not think that we are out of this race at this time. And what's going on with all the drivers on the backstretch, you see them all back there. They're all kind of talking to each other through their spotters, and they'll ask, you know, Robbie Gordon asked a moment ago, can you look at my front fender? Can the other guys, can you look at my left front? They ask each other how their cars are, so that's how they evaluate the damage. The closest look is a driver beside you, and sometimes can be your best friend as well, Phil.
Yeah, Marty, we saw the contact between the 31 of Jeff Burton and the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr. Sam actually had some flat tires, so he came directly to pit road, went ahead and changed his tires. You see, he's already left pit road. He's on the end of pit road when the red flag came out. He did pit before pit road was open. He will have to go back to the back of the field for the restart, but as crew chief Travis Keisler said, we pulled the fenders out. You have 4 new tires. You are good to go to the end. And obviously, with so few cars on the racetrack, going to the tail end of the longest line is not going to be that big a deal.
See all those drivers sitting on pit road and the crews not working on the race cars. In NASCAR competition, when the red flag comes out, you cannot work on your car. You can do a lot of evaluating. You can get parts and pieces ready to repair the car once the red flag is lifted. But under red, you cannot work on your race car. You see the shake-up in the points. We're going to step aside. Under a red flag, 12 laps to go in the Coke Zero 400. The 4th of July getting an early start at Daytona International Speedway. Welcome back to TNT's coverage of the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola. This evening began with a 90-minute delay because of rain in the Daytona Beach area. Once we got going, 8 caution flags tonight. And now we sit under the red flag with 12 laps to go. Let's go down to Matt Yoakum.
And sitting at the top of the pit box, Shane Wilson. We hear so much about the air traffic controller on your team, Mike Dillon. What's going to be the biggest thing that you need Mike to stress to Clint over these final laps to get this car to victory lane?
Well, we just got to try to keep it out front and not get too far out front. You know, you don't want to get out there too far and people will get a run on you. So we just got to try to do that, try to keep it up front and try to win this thing.
The last 2 plate races, 4th and 7th for the 33 of Boyer. Marty?
And Gil Martin is part of the RCR triumvirate up here. And so how do you get your 29 past that 33?
Hopefully we're going to do it on pit road right here when we come for get some 4 tires here in just a second.
So you do think everybody will pit here?
I don't know if everybody will. We're going to. We're going to put 4 on it and see what happens. I mean, it's going to be about 8 laps to go, and I think tires are going to be king here at the end. And, I mean, I think it's going to be better to go down swinging because you've got about 9 or 10 cars. I know it's hard to tell how many doesn't have damage right there, but a lot of them are going to come to pit road, and all the debris out there, I think you're going to need to come.
All right, I'm not a great poker player, but I think Gil Martin's actually telling me the truth, Lindsay. They're going to come to pit road for 4 fresh tires here.
Marty, and I'll bet that Gil Martin knows very well that Kevin Harvick is going to rely on his experience here at Daytona, as we know that he is one here. But when you look at the rest of the guys that are left in that pack, Larry, there could be a lot of first-timers here.
Well, there could be guys looking for their very first win ever, but I talked about this earlier in the race. You've got only one guy up there that doesn't have damage or that was not involved in that wreck that has a win in 2010. So we very well could see someone getting their first win of this year. You look at the Roush cars, the Fords up there, Biffle and Edwards. And I tell you, what I'm pretty impressed with, they have dodged the big one, is guys that are in the top 20. You look at Mike Bliss in that 71 car, Kevin Conway back there in Front Row Motorsports. A lot of guys that were well outside the top 35, they're now sitting up there inside the top 20.
And you mentioned the Fords. We know all of them are using the FR9 engine. How do you think that that's playing into things for them this time?
Well, what I saw in practice on Thursday is none of the Fords, none of the Richard Petty Motorsports cars or none of the Roush Fenway Fords had that fast lap in them. But I think they've really worked hard on getting those cars to drive good, and it looks like it's going to pay dividends for some of them.
And when we look at the Fords that are up there right now, Casey Kane and Carl Edwards, Kane has been so consistent over the past few weeks. Edwards, he's a guy that could really use this.
Well, all of the Fords could use it. And you think about Casey Kane, just look at his last 3 races. He's had a top 5 car, had a winning car at Loudon when he had the engine problem. And it wasn't that long ago when we had that wreck with David Reagan and those guys at McMurray. He was actually in the outside wall down in 1 and 2, and here he's fought his way back to the top 10.
Ralph Shaheen right now is with the crew chief for Jeff Gordon. Steve Letarte. Ralph?
Yeah, we're down here with Steve. You were just talking to NASCAR official. You going to get a little help in checking out your car?
Well, it's just important that the official knows when we're not going to send our gas guys over and you're going to send a couple of mechanics over. It's hard to count 7 in a short stop, and I just want him to kind of have a heads up on where our 7 guys are going to be and what they're going to be doing.
What are you worried about with the car?
Well, I think Jeff did an amazing job missing the wreck. You know, DuPont Chevrolet's been pretty good the whole time down here at Daytona, but when you came back up on the racetrack, I just have some concern we might have broke a splitter brace or pushed a splitter up. So we're going to go over, just make sure it's right. It doesn't look like anybody behind us made it through, so I think we're the last car out there anyway, so we'll give it a shot and then hopefully have a shot at the end.
They're in 6 right now, Adam.
2 Hendrick cars out of this race. We heard moments ago from Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin, both involved in this accident. The other 2 still alive. We just heard from Steve Letarte, and you're right on board with the 4th Hendrick driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Stay low there. Come on, low. 1 outside. Come on.
A little bit of a hit there.
Yep.
But for the most part, the 88 able to avoid the accident, and he'll be another driver to watch, trying to sweep the weekend.
Yeah, both those guys, the 88 and the 24, did really nice jobs avoiding that. It's hard, again, it's hard driving off the banking and you know, not wrecking when you hit that apron.
So the engines have fired on these race cars. You see the pace car pulling away, and we've gone from the red flag back to the caution. Clint Bowyer is the race leader. Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane, Carl Edwards, and David Rudem in the top 5. Pick out your favorite driver and try and figure out just where he stands in this whole thing in regard to damage.
Well, look at the splitters of the cars, and the splitters like on the 24 and the 88 look pretty clean. And that was the only thing I was really mainly concerned about, was that. Everything else should be fine if the splitter's fine.
Yeah, this is just survival of the fittest right now when you look at it. But I thought it was interesting to hear those guys talking, to hear Gil talk. We're going to take 4. We're going to take 4. You know, 4, we feel like we're going to have 8 or 10 laps to go, and 4 tires are going to get it done for us. So it's going to be interesting to see who gambles and does 2, who stays out and tries to do the track position thing. And we saw Junior, let's be honest, we saw Junior in the 500 on a couple of those green-white checkers. He had 4. He came from 12th or 15th to finish 2nd in the race. So 4 was a big, big thing here in February.
And the other item that takes a little drama out of the strategy here is the fact that there are so few cars involved.
Yeah,
now.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. You've got and a lot of the really, really good cars that had a shot at winning this race got wrecked. So you've got a better shot coming back from 11th or 12th right now to get back to the front. Just because of the competition.
Yeah, the competition. You've got wounded competition, and you know the competition up front is the 33, the 29, and you see, 33 stayed out.
Perhaps he was
going to be big.
And everyone else coming down pit road, Ralph.
Yeah, here they come, including Jeff Gordon. The crew goes over the wall. Remember, they want to look at that splitter. They're going to go, they pull off one of the tear-offs off the window. They take a look at the right side, and the 2 car comes in as well. Kurt Busch comes in right next to him. They're working on that car as well, taking a long look at the right side, Marty.
Ralph, Kevin Harvick, the last pit stall on pit road. It'll be 4 tires, no changes for Harvick. A couple of guys taking 2 tires. We saw Boyer stay out. Harvick putting the last tires on. He'll be the first to leave with 4 tires from pit road here on this stop.
Guys in the booth, just looking at the 33 car, I don't feel bad about what he just did there because they pitted on lap 137. We've only run 2 green flag laps since that pit stop. I think the only issue, Gil Martin brought it up, making sure that they did not run over anything to cut one of these tires.
How about Kevin Conway?
Right there, man. Right there. He was like 17th or 18th after the wreck, and that's what I was trying to look to see where he got back to. You see these guys now. Remember, look at the bent braces. Just like Wally said, I was looking at the splitters. Look at the bent brace there on the right where they've added those braces. But that thing is
yeah, it's got a little bit of angle up.
A little bit of angle up. That changes it. That changes it, man. And it doesn't take much. And you don't want to bend it down too low. You think, oh my God, I can knock this thing down a little bit and gain us a little downforce, so we're going to be good. And then the first thing you do is sell that thing off in the corner, and it lays on that splitter, and it takes you completely out of competition.
Now, what that's going to do, more than likely, because it's angled up like that, that's going to make the car push. He's going to have a hard time with front grip in that car the way that splitter's angled.
You can really see it coming at us, which is the right side of us.
And if anybody gets $1 million challenge on this race tonight, has more than earned it.
Yeah, you got that right.
If you got it tonight, Wally and Kyle will kick in and write you a check too.
Yeah.
Not for $1 million. I won't say that, but maybe
I didn't put a dollar figure on it.
We'll kick in a check.
Maybe a check.
So after the smoke settles and everyone comes to pit road, the reset says there are 20 cars on the lead lap. Kurt Busch, who you see here, the last of those. Clint Boyer, as we documented, stayed on the racetrack. He is the race leader. Sam Hornish Jr., Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards, David Rudum in the top 5. But we got to keep our eye on Hornish because, as Phil Parsons pointed out, he pitted before pit road was open. So we're not sure, but it appears he's going to restart here on the inside of Boyer. And that 77 car has been strong tonight. The 1 to go has been given.
Now he's peeling down.
There he goes, yeah. So that'll move Carl Edwards up to the front row. And this works out nicely for the RCR bunch because that puts Harvick in the outside lane behind Boyer. More on the race leader with Matt.
When Clint Boyer realized that he was the Lone Ranger pretty much staying out while the other leaders hit pit road, his crew chief told him, Shane Wilson said simply, do not worry about the tires, we will be fine. And Larry Mack documented well the number of laps, so they feel like they're in a good position here.
And the lights are out on the pace car. We'll get the green flag with 9 laps to go. A Chevrolet and Ford on the front row. A Chevy and Toyota in row number 2, and they've added a lap. The lights go back on the pace car, and there's the reason why.
Yeah, just
cooling hose.
Yeah. It's going to be about, like Gil said, it's going to be about 8 to go when they throw the green flag.
There may be stuff falling off these cars for the next 5 laps, though.
Let's look at some of these names still in the hunt. Robbie Gordon running 10th. Second a couple of weeks ago at Sonoma. Mike Bliss in the top 12. Steve Park having a good run inside the top 20. Richard Petty Motorsports teammates Casey Kane and Elliott Sadler both have had their fair share of problems tonight, but both will restart inside the top 10 here.
I'm not sure there's a car out there without a tire mark on it. You know, I mean, this looks like Martinsville.
It does.
When you really get into it, I mean, it is amazing how these guys have bounced off each other and bounced off the walls tonight, and just tried to stay off each other. But it's been incredible.
The ebbs and flows of racing at Daytona.
pace car looks good. It's clean.
For now.
For now, yeah. So far.
Brett Bodine, the pace car driver, has earned his money tonight. Caution's been out on 8 different occasions. Just cleaned up a red flag that involved virtually half the field. It appears this time we will get the green with 8 laps remaining. Clint Bowyer trying to work his way into the chase. Kevin Harvick behind him, his teammate, the point leader, trying to get some bonus points for the chase. Edwards looking for his first win of the year, and David Rudiman doing the same on the inside lane. Some drivers out front that you would expect to be there at this stage of the race. Some of the others playing the underdog role. Get ready to roll. We got 8 laps to get it done, and it begins right now.
That inside row with Carl Edwards and the 00 and the 9, we've not seen those guys all night long in that position. Carl's had a good run, but we've just not seen him up front.
Elliott Sadler quickly pulled out of line. Drops in behind Sam Hornish Jr. As our teammates on that outside lane. Cheerios car driven by Clint Bowyer, the 33, being pushed by Kevin Harvick.
I'm going to tell you, that inside line's kind of hanging with these guys. But we've seen it all night with new tires. The inside line can hang for a few laps.
Really, it's a lot about pushing right now, as far as pushing each other. When the green flag dropped, the outside line, even Gordon was pushing the 29, and the 29 was pushing the 33. You got Kurt Busch is sitting right there in that 2 car. I really thought he'd be struggling.
I thought he would just be, with that valence the way it was, with the splitter where it was, and the way he went down across. He did a great job of saving that thing, just from the drivability of him driving it. And look at it suck up on the 24 right there. Obviously, it's still getting, it's got something, you know what I mean?
I think he got a push on the 31 there, coming off of 2.
The 00 really can't. It doesn't look like he can hang with the 99, and it's kind of broken the inside line there. People are trying to get in that outside. You see the 9 car jump to the outside.
Carl Edwards trying to get forward their first win of the year. Paying the price on the inside lane. Here's Kurt Busch pulling out of line.
Kurt knows with 6 laps to go, he's got to make something happen. He's got to get in position for somebody to push him and push him back up there. Now, the trick's going to be if somebody falls in behind him. If the Chevy guys just fall in line like they are on the outside, his only help is the 77 that just went by him, and you see Kurt.
Yeah.
And that's just getting in. Wait, what did Kurt say? You get impatient. When you get aggressive, you lose some ground. He got aggressive there and lost some ground.
But this is also a time when you start eliminating guys. If you can line up 7 or 8 guys and somebody pulls out, you get hung out to dry because they want you out of the pack. That's how they start eliminating people.
Kurt Busch went back to the high line. And his teammate Sam Hornish Jr. there trying to slide in the 77. Can't get it done.
And Hornish was 4th just a minute ago. And now all of a sudden, Hornish is back here at the back.
3 Chevrolets have pulled away with 4.5 laps to go. Bowyer leads, Harvick 2nd, Jeff Gordon, and then another Chevrolet, Jeff Burton, who you see pulling out of line there in that Caterpillar Chevy.
And that's impressive that he's worked his way back up there, because he started at the back. Junior's dropped to the back of this pack. Junior must have a little bit more damage from that little bit of a hit that he took than what we thought he did. You see him right there.
He gets up in the wall here just a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more damage there than what we anticipated, too. I'm going to tell you, this is going to get good right here, because all these guys need a win. Need a win, man. Need a win bad.
4 laps to go.
But it's really like you've got to separate the Childress cars. You know, the 24, the 9, and the 99 really have to work together if they're going to beat the Childress team.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, Jeff Gordon did something right there. He separated those 2 cars. He put himself in position. Now, is somebody going to go with him? Yeah. He didn't need anybody to go.
No,
He
just went by himself.
He got a shove, and he's there.
He's got to get up there.
He's got to get up, man. I thought he would have got up before that.
Yeah. Those magical words from his spotter.
Wow.
All clear. Jeff Gordon on the point with 3 to go at Daytona.
Now,
he's got trouble behind him because he gets the 2 children's cars, and wherever Bowyer goes, Harvick is going to go with him.
The best part is we can sit here and run our mouth all night long, but you can't guess what these guys are going to do. You know what I mean? Because they're sitting there.
Well, the 24 is going to start blocking.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
That's good. The 24 is going to, but you know, you got Harvick here who wants to win. You got the 33 who needs a win. You got Casey running 4th there, who's put himself back in position. And I mean, who are they going to go with? That's going to be the thing. Who are they going to? And you hear these guys, stay hooked up. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. Let's stay hooked up.
Jeff Gordon, the king of restrictor plate racing. He's won more than any other. 12 times he's gone to victory lane. 6 right here at Daytona. 2 to go, and he has the race lead.
I think you got to wait. I don't know where. I would wait until the white flag. If you had a partner,
if
you could wait late.
If you had a partner, you know. But the thing is, the thing that gets you with this package is
the white flag. 9's right on you. 9's right on you.
Maybe now, because you had a run.
There they go. Clint Bowyer pulls out line. Harvick pushes into the lead.
Clear. 9's coming under
Kane
him.
coming through. Here comes Kurt Busch. They freight train Jeff Gordon off of turn 4. They'll get the white flag this time.
It's hard to figure.
Trouble.
Hornish out of trouble. He hits the wall.
Big wreck behind us. Come to the line.
And there goes Kurt Busch.
Come on. You're clear. You're clear. Come on.
The leader did not take the white flag, meaning we will get a green-white checker finish.
There ain't anybody to have a green-white checker finish with. Boy, 19 went in the wall hard. He got turned, and boy, he went in hard. Boy, 77 went in pretty hard, too.
Yeah. It's been a great bit of this night. Inside the top 10 to the 77. Nothing to show for it.
You heard him say, check your oil pressure, man. That was.
Coming to the white flag.
Looks like the 2's drifting up, the 0.
Oh, that thing.
77 just got in there in the middle and couldn't hang on to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, it's go time.
It's go time, man.
I mean, 2 laps to go. You know, if you see a hole there, and you've got to run, you've got to try to fill it.
You see him, he gets down in there, and he realizes, okay, right here I'm loose. I catch it. I get into the 2 car, and he ricochets, and he comes back and takes the 2 out. And poor Kurt thought he was safe at that point in time. These guys behind him did a really good job of avoiding. You see, I think it's the 99 that goes down pit road. He's getting ready to turn right here and head down pit road. These guys hit pretty hard. He's got to be disgusted. You know, he's bounced off everything all night long and still had a shot at having a good run and ran good early in the race. You know, we talked about where they're going to make a move. It's hard to guess with these guys because of the spoiler. This is something they haven't had here, and we saw the move made within 300 yards of the start-finish line at Talladega. It was in a different place than it had ever been made, or than it had been made in a lot of years. So this is a little bit different.
Been a frustrating night for a number of drivers. This is our 9th caution of the evening. All these drivers racing inside the top 10.
That's tough to be in the middle coming off of turn 4 too. It's bumpy over there. You have no aerodynamics on your car when you're in the center like that.
Not sure how much damage, if any more, for Kurt Busch in that exchange. Looked like when Hornish got turned into the wall, Busch was able to get by in front of him without getting any damage, and I think he stayed off the wall, and you see him here. Always plenty of work to do when you've been beaten up like he has tonight, but he may be able to come out of this thing okay.
It is amazing. These cars do look like they just run a Martinsville race.
Well, they're working on the 2 of Kurt Busch. They're taking a look at that body, getting it all put back together the best they can. They put 4 new tires on it and they're sending him back out.
Been a couple of different times in this race tonight where the lineup has worked perfect for the RCR bunch. Bowyer's leading and Harvick lines up behind him, or Harvick's leading and he's got Burton behind him. They're 1-2 on track right now, which means when we get this green-white checker finish, they'll be side by side.
But we're at the point where I think Larry mentioned it earlier, no such thing as a teammate at this point.
No.
It's every man for himself.
Kane and Gordon, the drivers that will line up in row 2, and then right behind him, the other member of the RCR camp, Jeff Burton. And there you see Richard. Got to celebrate with Dale Earnhardt Jr. here last night. That 3-car going back to victory lane. Repaved this racetrack in 1978. A very entertaining Daytona 500 in 1979. They will begin repaving this place on Monday, and it's going out with a bang, Kyle.
If you can bookend it, with the '79 Daytona 500, and then the Coke Zero 400 tonight, and the way this thing is playing out and the way it has played out, 2 pretty good races to bookend a racetrack and the pavement here. That's pretty cool.
And now we get a report on the race leader with Matt.
And Mike Dillon laying out for Clint Bowyer the cars that would be behind him on the restart, depending on which lane he chooses, whether it's the 24 of Gordon and the 99 of Edwards, or the 9 of Kane, or 31 his teammate Jeff Burton. So guys, which lane would you pick, knowing who's going to be behind you pushing?
I don't know.
Easy to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Lindsay, Larry, your thoughts?
I think Kyle Petty just made a great point about bookending this this length of time that this track has seen this kind of action here. I mean, this is an amazing race.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have a fight down in turn 3 and 4 when this race is over. But I love what Wally said. We don't have enough cars almost to have a green-white
I know,
checker.
who's left. It's remarkable to see the guys that are left. I mean, looking at the teammates up front, Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick, you've got to think that with this green-white checker flag, they're going to take it.
Yeah, but what is the wild card here is they no longer will be nose to tail. They're side by side. And I'm going to tell you, that 24 car, he showed a lot of muscle a while ago when he pulled out and took the lead without anybody helping him whatsoever.
If you're one of those crew chiefs, so for Bowyer or Harvick, Larry, what are you saying to them right now?
You know what? It's like I said in the keys to the race. This is the point. There's nothing else that crew chief can do. It's on the driver's shoulders and maybe whatever the spotter can, whatever hand he can lend.
Looking down that list, who else do you like besides Gordon? I know you just mentioned him and the move he was able to pull on them earlier.
Well, Carl Edwards, until he got shuffled out, looked awfully strong when he was at the front of the pack, and I wouldn't count that third Childress car out just yet, Jeff Burton. I know he's got a little bit of damage, but he still looks awfully strong right now, sitting back there in the 5th position. I still believe it's one of those deals, even with only possibly 2 laps to go, it still could be anybody's game right there in that top 6 to 8.
And you look at the point standings, and right now, you know, when we saw last week the 88 Dale Earnhardt Jr. teetering, playing hopscotch basically over that 12-13 line. I mean, this is for all the marbles.
Now, this race here so far, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
It's taken the points and just shuffled them and threw them all over the floor. Guys in the top 12 and guys just outside the top 12. A real winner, maybe in 2 ways tonight, could be that 33 car of Clint Bowyer, points-wise and race-win-wise.
And we don't want to look ahead too far, obviously, because as you just said, we still have racing left to go tonight. But as you head into Chicago then, how does this change things for that race?
Well, again, we'll get back to a little bit of normal racing. You know, it's still going to be a great race, but you come here to Daytona restrictor plate racing, and I've always said you feel like you control about 0.1% of your destiny. I think we saw that while ago on the backstretch. 2 cars get together, 19 cars end up involved.
Well, I know right now a lot of guys holding their breath, getting ready to go back under green. We send it back up to you guys, Adam.
Getting set for this green-white checker finish. We could have as many as 3 of these. Lights out on the pace car. The 1 to go signal has been given. And we say up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker. Once the leader takes the white flag, the next flag ends the race, either the caution or obviously the checker. If the caution comes out prior to the leader taking the white flag, we reset the lineup and have a second attempt under those same rules.
Yeah, we had the big wreck, and Tony was in it, Tony Stewart was in it, Denny Hamlin was in it. These guys got their stuff together and got back out there. Even though they're 7 or 8 laps down, they picked up a lot of positions by being able to get back out there. Now we have another crash. They're picking up even more positions because they're out there riding around right now. So they're going to have 15th to 20th place finishes, don't get me wrong, but it didn't kill Tony Stewart. This is not killing him like it killed some of these guys.
2 of the drivers involved in this, our 9th caution of the night. Elliott Sadler and Sam Hornish Jr. both had hard hits. Both have been taken and released from the infield care center.
Yeah, it's got Speed up there. Steve Park is up there. Conway's up there.
Robbie
Gordon's up there. Mike Bliss is sitting in 13th spot. There's a lot of these guys are going to have some great finishes tonight that haven't had much luck this year.
And that's a good run for Tommy Baldwin and those guys.
Yeah,
and
they
Steve Park
needed
to be able
it.
to come back. I mean, that's financially and point-wise for some of the things that these guys have done.
Daytona, the place where it always seems to happen. And tonight we get an overtime finish.
It's a late wave around, isn't it?
It's Paul Menard driving around the field.
Either a late wave around or
he's getting the green.
He's the lucky dog because he's going to be in a totally different place on the racetrack when everything happens next time.
He may win it.
Daytona, a place of uncertainty. This field been thrown a lot of curveballs tonight. The green-white checker finish could provide even more fireworks on this 4th of July. Back under green, overtime at Daytona.
Good jump in that outside line right there that time.
Yeah, and I think Jeff Gordon wants to go.
Yeah, Jeff's going with him. I think Jeff's doing to the 33 what the 29 won to 33.
Oh, up on the high side.
Oh, Gordon getting aggressive, going to the outside of Clint Boyer.
He's going to have a good run, too.
That's a big move by Jeff right there.
Wow, he just drove right around him. Harvick inherits the lead in that bottom lane, help from Kane.
Oh, wow, he gets popped by Boyer, almost turns Gordon in the wall.
Gordon able to keep it off the wall. And speaking of Burton, look at him on the bottom lane, getting help from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You got the 24 and the 9 on the outside. You got 2 guys that's not been there. This is going to be white flag right here.
White flag is out. Kevin Harvick, the race leader.
That 29 car is going to get wide here in a minute because he's got to stop this momentum of this 9 car. Look at the 2 car up there on the outside. Coming. Look at Kurt Busch.
He's been involved in the last 3 cautions.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
No more Mr. Nice Guy right here.
Driver number 2 will not be denied. There's Boyer around.
Backing up a little bit. Got the bin behind you. Come on. Keep coming.
As of now, we don't have a caution. We'll see if they let him race back to the line, and it appears they will.
And there's no caution because he's so far behind and there's nobody back there. I'm sorry.
Kevin Harvick, the race leader, off of turn number 4. Casey Kane and Jeff Gordon behind him. Will they make a move? They will not. Harvick wins at Daytona.
The 2 car, they got together right here through the trial. These guys did, the 2 and the 71. Good run by Bobby Labonte. You got to give him a little credit there. He's
top 10 finishes 15, for Reed Sorensen, Mike Bliss, Scott Speed, and the momentum continues for Dale Earnhardt Jr., 4th tonight. one more look at Clint Bowyer, who was the race leader when we went back under green.
33 looked like he kind of bounced off the outside wall and came back across Ruderman's front end. I don't think Ruderman had anything to do with that at all.
Carl Edwards just shot out of line.
Yeah, Carl just up the race. Oh, right in front of Bliss right there in the 71. Bliss had no place to go.
And after all of that, Kurt Busch finishing 7th tonight. Look at that race car and explain how he comes home 7th at a place like this. Kevin Harvick started on the pole as the point leader after qualifying was rained out. And at the end of the evening, he's the man that will get the trophy in victory lane. Second win of the year for Harvick. The other one also coming at a restrictor plate track in Talladega.
The Coke Zero 400 on TNT is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coke taste and 0 calories.
And the 4th of July fireworks going off in Daytona. And no one enjoying them any more than Kevin Harvick. Every driver in this field had to endure some sort of problem. One time Kevin Harvick received the free pass. Driver 29 never wavered. And at the end of the night, he's going to celebrate.
And I'm going to tell you, you know, Gil Martin made that call, and he said, we're going to put 4 tires on this thing. We're committed. And you got to give those guys credit. I mean, they stayed with their plan. They ran it out. And little by little, there were 3 children's cars, then there were 2 children's cars, and then there was 1, and it was the 29 car of Harvick.
Kevin Harvick said, we're going to let it all hang on. Let it all hang out.
Is that the good smoke you were talking about? That's a good kind of smoke.
That's a good kind of. You like choking on victory, on burnout smoke, man. You like choking on that. Nothing wrong with that.
Kasey Kahne, a runner-up tonight. Let's hear from him with Phil.
Kasey Kahne, how did you dodge all that shrapnel out there?
I have no idea. Every time I looked up, there was a crash going on. It seemed like the last 30 laps there, and I hit oil when I hit the wall. You know, we had a great run going with our Armed Forces Budweiser Ford, and I think I hit oil, just spun out, and then they wrecked in front of me, so it actually helped me, or I'd have definitely been in that wreck, so I was already slowed up. But the team did a nice job. Another top 5, 4 top 5s in a row, kind of. Not really, but kind of.
You should have had another top 5 last week.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to thank all the men and women out there who fight for this country on this 4th of July weekend. It's a great weekend. We were happy as can be that we get to race, and we love all of them.
All right, thanks, Kasey. Marty.
Well, Phil, a 4th for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Have you seen a race that crazy in anytime soon, recently?
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of races that are pretty crazy. Congratulations to Kevin and RCR. We were terrible all night. We didn't do a good job this weekend as a team putting our car on the racetrack and making it as good as we could. We thought we were going to be okay, but we just weren't when the race started, and we just had to do a little bit better job. We got lucky, real lucky tonight to get what we got. I'm proud of the work the guys did, but you know, you'd rather be good than lucky. But tonight, anybody wants to trade you some luck like they all did tonight, we'll take it.
Yeah, I know you said guys looked like they were determined just to tear things up, right?
Even after the checkered was over with, the cars in the mirror spinning. I don't know what was going on, man, but I was just out of control all night myself. But I want to thank the National Guard, the 8 soldiers and the 8 missions that were here tonight. They're representing the entire National Guard, and we're proud to have them here. I wish we'd have put a better race car on the track for y'all. So.
4th for Dale Jr., Adam.
And with that run, Marty, he has jumped into the top 12 in points. It was a long evening in Daytona, no doubt about that. And as the fireworks continue to sound here at the World Center of Racing, we welcome you into our Coke Zero 400 post-race show. And now we join the celebration in Victory Lane with Matt Yoakum.
Back in February, Kevin Harvick dominated with this very race car, led it into the first and second green-white checkers, and just missed scoring the win. Tonight, he closes the deal. What's it mean to win this race, a crown jewel event, and especially with the historical ramifications of this is the final race on this pavement?
Well, this has been a great place for us. Daytona has been one of those magical places for us since we started coming here. And just got to thank everybody from Shell, Pennzoil, Jimmy John's, SKF, Champion, Coca-Cola. Drink a lot of Coke Zero. This is their race. Realtree, Reese's. Who did I miss on the back? I think I got everybody. But I want to say hey to all the guys from Jimmy John's, and congratulations, Brock, on kicking some ass tonight. So that was pretty cool.
How crazy can you describe the final restart and setting yourself up knowing what your teammate was going to try to do as well?
Yeah, that really wasn't the situation that we wanted to be in. I wanted to be behind him and being able to push him because it was working pretty good for us. And then that caution came out, and we had to split up because of the double foul restarts. But I helped him as much as I could, and we got split up in the 9, and I think the 24 split the 33, and then that was it.
You have an impressive trophy room, so many great mementos from your racing history. What's it going to mean to add another Daytona trophy and probably some pavement from the start-finish line, too?
I don't really care about the trophy. I want some of that pavement from the start-finish line out there, so this is pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kevin Harvick enjoying the Coke Zero, and it never tasted so good. And some congratulations from his owner. Always good stories to tell when you have a victory at this place, and Kevin Harvick able to pad his point lead in the process, not only on the season, but picks up another 10 bonus points for his second win of the year. And there you see the updated standings halfway through the season. How about Jeff Gordon jumping up to second? Kyle Busch dropped to 6th, and here's the meat of the story. Mark Martin fell out. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now in, and what a difference with a green-white checker finish for Clint Bowyer. He stood to be inside the top 12, leaving here with momentum. Instead, he's outside and 49 points behind.
Yeah, but those guys just changed position. When you look at it, there's still 20th place is only 170, 60 or 70 points out, and it's been that way for a few weeks now.
Jeff Burton didn't get the win, but a top 5 finish for him. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
Somehow a top 5. How did you rally for that top 5, Jeff?
I don't know. That's just the way our year's been. I don't know. We had a great race car. I thought we had the fastest car on the racetrack, and we just got in that deal with Kurt. To be honest, I don't even know what happened. I know he was coming just a big head of steam, and we got together. I don't know if it's my fault or his fault, or it was one of our faults, and wrecked half the field, unfortunately. And the car wasn't that bad. It hit every corner, but it hit everything solid, so it didn't tear anything up too bad. And we got in the right line the first restart. That last restart, we were on the bottom line, and that wasn't any good ever. But we had a fast race car. I thought we had the best car on the racetrack tonight. I thought that if everything would have gone the way that we needed it to go, we'd have won the race. But nonetheless, it was a good finish for us. You come home to the restricted plate race, top 5, you probably ought to skip, go home.
After all the races, though, lately where you've had a top 5 car and didn't finish there, how rewarding is it tonight?
Well, I'm disappointed we didn't win. Like last week, I was really disappointed we didn't win. But I'm not discouraged about what we're doing. We're building great race cars, and we're not finishing the deal, but we will. And when we do, it's going to be a bunch of them. And if we can get ourselves into chase, we are a real contender. I mean, we can run. Our speed's great. So I'm real happy. I'm proud of all our Caterpillar and all our sponsors have done such a great job with us, being patient through last year, and just real proud of all of them for sticking in with us.
Led a lot of laps. Finished 5th tonight, Phil.
Jeff Gordon, I know you would like to be over in victory lane where Kevin Harvick is right now, but all in all, with all that went on there in late stages of this race, you got to be happy with the top 5.
Well, it's been a while since we finished one of these races too, so we certainly haven't had good fortune going our way recently, but DuPont Chevrolet was really strong tonight, especially on the long runs. We needed long runs, and there at the end, Steve made some great calls, and we missed some of the big stuff, and I did a big 4-wheel slide into 3 there, and able to come out there pretty clean, and got some good runs there at the end. And I was trying to push Clint Bowyer, and I don't know if he was riding the brakes or what was going on with him trying to keep me on his bumper, but it was really messing us up. And I finally just said, I got to go, man. You're killing me. And got a run around him, got another run, and got up to Casey. Was trying to help him get to Kevin, but all in all, a great top 3 finish for us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
TNT would like to thank the following sponsors for supporting tonight's wide open coverage. Goodyear, Piranha 3D from Dimension Films, Coors Light, Subway Restaurants, Sprint, Toyota, Burger King, and Coke Zero. Wild night in Daytona, very unpredictable throughout. Harvick, the last man standing.
Last man standing, and that's the way it was. But I mean, there were times when we had the complete Harvick or the complete Childress group up there, Penske group, we had the complete Gibbs group up there, and when you looked at it, it's just the way this thing played out. I don't think any of us thought, as slick as this racetrack was, as bumpy as it was, the way they separated and the way they got spread out, that this was going to happen. But I mean, it's good race no matter what. It came down, but there were a lot of stuff probably shouldn't have happened out there tonight.
You know, earlier I knew Harvick was running a good season. I just didn't know if they had what it took, you know, for championship. And I'll tell you what, they're looking pretty tough right now. You know, they're starting to put wins in their columns, and that's impressive.
They've been consistent. That's good. But you said the key thing, Wally, wins and bonus points.
Yep.
That's what will win you the title. Next Saturday, NASCAR on TNT heads to the Windy City. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern with Countdown to Green. And then it's NASCAR Sprint Cup racing from Chicago. That's Saturday, July 10th on TNT. Coming up next on TNT, it's Tommy Lee Jones, Wesley Snipes, and Robert Downey Jr. in U.S. Marshals. Head to NASCAR.com right now for the NASCAR on TNT post-race show. Interviews, analysis, and more live now on NASCAR.com. This race was scheduled to start over 5 hours ago. It was a long night in Daytona, but for Kevin Harvick, it was worth the wait. He's enjoying this fireworks show, celebrating his second win at the World Center of Racing. We congratulate Harvick and the entire 29 team, and we thank you for joining us. For Wally Dallenbach, Kyle Petty, and our entire NASCAR on TNT team, I'm Adam Alexander. Good night.